Welcome back to another episode of What Are We Watching? Welcome, friends.
What's up, guys?
How are you guys?
Hey there, pals. How we doing?
This is big news, actually. You know what I realized? This is our 40th episode.
40th.
Wow.
40. Well,
Jesus,
with Keith and
awesome.
I, 40 main episodes. Jack, this is the last one for you, pal. So.
What?
No,
40 and done.
Keith
We can't
is-
lose him,
Keith
dude.
is
I'll be
sweating
so
right
stressed.
now. Yeah, this is the 40th episode. How do you guys feel?
I feel good.
I
Good.
feel good.
Good.
Yeah.
So I did have a little note before, another little note. I realize I'm like making announcements left and right.
He didn't clear these by us, by the way. Just to make
Yeah, I
sure.
did. I just told you
said,
about
no,
it.
you
2
told us there was
seconds
going to be
ago.
one. You didn't say there's going to be multiple.
Oh, shit.
Do you want to, like, restart?
No. So this is, we have been doing a lot more of these now. We've had a lot more people listening to us. We've been getting some great feedback on social media and just with new subscribers and followers and stuff like that. If you guys are looking for ways to support the show, if you're listening on YouTube, subscribing, liking, commenting, or just following us like wherever you listen, that would really help us out. Or if you are on Spotify, Apple, wherever, on the mobile app, you can leave a review of the show. It would just really help get us to a wider audience so we can keep doing what we love. And we've been getting a lot of love from you guys too. So we really appreciate it. And yeah, here's to the next 40, fellas.
Yeah, we
Am I right?
really appreciate all the listeners. Thanks for listening, and keep listening
And-
if you like it.
And hell yeah, brother. And the best part is it's free. So until Keith wanted us to be, what was that plan you were saying? You're like, yeah, and we start charging these chumps like $1,000 per episode or something.
Oh.
Yeah, dude, you were all
I
fired
think
up at
I
work.
think
It was
I had too
nuts.
much coffee that day. I don't think I wanted anyone paying
He
any
blacked
cents.
out.
Started going on about some manifesto or
Yeah, if you have to
something.
pay for
Oh,
this,
dude,
then
it's
I
nuts.
feel sorry for you. You're already being like a nice person by listening to this.
Yeah,
but
we
you
put
decide
you
that
we put you guys through enough. At
If
this
you have
point.
to actually
like-
use your hard-earned scratch on this, I'm so sorry.
You're a bigger chump than Billy Hoyle.
Oh! Speaking of that, we need to get Joe back on here ASAP.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
fun.
I don't care what he wants to do. Training Day. I literally don't care what movie he wants to do. He can pick any movie. We can do Ratatouille. I don't really care. Whatever he wants to do.
Well, he
What
already,
a
he
spread
already
of
texted
movies.
me. He's like, dude, I got plenty more movies I
yeah,
can do.
Yeah.
dude, that's like, it was so fun. Like that's what it's supposed to. That's what we do.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone's looking here for.
Keith's like we're dream makers.
I don't think anyone tunes in looking for like an IQ test. They're just
Yeah.
like, well,
They're like,
That-
well, this'll do.
that got me to the next stretch of my time at work, or that car ride just got less hectic.
Well, before we dive into the movie, which was Reservoir Dogs.
Whoa,
if
you're
you
gonna
guys
spoil it
hadn't-
like
Yeah,
that?
dude, I'm gonna spoil it.
Frick. All right, well, it's
This
off.
is
This was a
little
Keith
insider
pick.
trading.
It
This is a
was
Keith
me.
pick.
It was
so,
my pick.
so Keith is wearing a wonderful Reservoir Dogs T-shirt. He brought his little steel book of the movie. Yeah. Do you want to start us off?
The steelbook slides in and out. Everyone knows the iconics. Well, maybe you do.
Maybe you don't.
Mostly, you probably know the iconic ear scene.
Yeah, buddy.
the steelbook comes in a plastic case that
Yeah.
has the ear on it, and then when you slide it in and out, the ear comes off and
Yeah.
leaves a blood stain.
Oh,
Wow.
that's cool.
Is that
yeah,
cool
so
or
Keith,
what? That's
so
a Best
Keith
Buy
is demoing
exclusive.
it.
That's also really sad because this will be one of the last times you can get something like this because Best Buy, in store, Best Buy stopped
okay.
selling all physical media.
Oh, did they?
Yeah,
Wild.
it's a
Wow.
sad day. Like honestly, that was like a huge arc in not my childhood, but my teenagehood.
Yeah. Just
Like
buying-
I'd be there, whatever I could get. Like I remember I bought the Seinfeld collection there. I bought Street Fighter on. Not the Sonny Chiba Street Fighter, the Jean-Claude Van Damme Street Fighter.
Oh.
Bought that on
shit.
DVD. Like
Yeah, that's
all
wild.
my fucking $5 DVD purchases, like you just run through.
Oh, I used to go through
Oh
the
my
DVD
God,
section
dude,
there
it was like
crazy. It was
Christmas.
great, dude, going there.
Serpico, I like Godfather, whatever you could think on DVD. That's where I
Yeah.
got it. And then
But now they have if you go to like Walmart or Target, they have the $5 movie,
Yeah, I know.
which is solid.
yeah, but
Which
I don't
found-
buy DVDs anymore because I'm not a rat.
What do you mean you're not a rat?
Dude, Blu-ray or better.
Well, I mean, what do
Go
you
the
mean you
fuck
don't buy
home.
DVDs?
You gotta
What do
be.
you mean you're not a rat?
That was all to say. You gotta buy Blu-ray or higher, dude. What's the
Yeah.
point? If you're buying a DVD that's not like independent release or
Yeah.
something like that, like
I've
what
been
are you
thinking about
doing?
getting into Laserdisc.
That's a step back, but I mean, I will say this: Laserdisc is cool because the artwork is insane.
Yeah,
it's a
it is
double
really
fold
crazy.
out, like a double LP fold out with like all the scenes listed,
Yeah.
all the art. Like the Laserdiscs are cool. I don't know if I want to buy a Laserdisc player, but I will rock a 4K or Blu-ray. I know you're a VHS
Every
guy
day,
because you're
yeah.
like, yeah,
Dude,
dude.
speaking of
You wear
cool
glasses, it
artwork,
makes sense.
I had all these albums
Mm-hmm.
that I've spent years collecting, and my hot water heater burst,
I knew you were gonna say something bad.
and they're all fucked.
Oh,
like,
that sucks.
like all the albums are fine,
yeah, but the sleeves,
cases are like they smell like mold. There's
Yeah.
mold
Oh,
on them.
that stinks.
So I had to. So what I did was I ordered all this shit on Amazon that I can put the records in, and keep the records at least. But I had to throw away all the albums
yeah,
with all the artwork.
they're all
It's
cardboard.
horrible.
Yeah,
They
that
never,
sucks.
they
Like,
never switched
that really
that for me.
sucks.
But I was like, I can't restart and buy all these albums.
No, you're gonna be
like,
broke.
yeah, I'm like, there's no way.
But yeah, so we got the Keith's got his steelbooks, got a little shirt on.
I didn't bring what I did buy though back in the day
Oh.
was they make
He has an.
I left
knife
it.
to
I
cut
found
off
in the
someone's
basement,
ear.
but the DVD version you could get the special edition. It was a gas can, so it was like the shape of a DVD, but it was a little bit different. It was a gas can, and it had a pop top,
yeah,
and
that's
the
pretty
DVD
cool.
was inside. I have that at home somewhere, but someone stole
I
my
had
pop
that.
top. You have that?
I do.
Yeah, someone stole the pop top at college though, so I came home without the pop top. So now it's just
Scumbag.
like
Yeah.
I mean, not that I really need to
Yeah,
pop it, but I
Yeah.
mean,
It's sometimes
yeah, isn't that
nice,
sick?
You know?
it
Isn't
is.
that- I
cool.
love
and
that
I
gas.
had sick versions of Pulp Fiction and Jackie Brown.
Did you have the Pulp Fiction slide out one?
Yeah,
yeah,
slide
dude.
out, and then I had the Jackie Brown slide out where it had bullet holes, and when you put
Oh,
it in,
yeah.
different people's faces were there.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
So this is I mean, I think we haven't done. We did Pulp Fiction already, right? No, did we
No.
do Pulp Fiction?
I think this is the first
the first
Tarantino.
This is the
Tarantino.
first Tarantino.
Yeah.
Why did
Yeah.
I forget?
It's just
We haven't
like-
been doing it like years. You know, like
I think this is. I
did
would
first
that
say,
around
Tarantino
10 years ago.
Yeah.
Jack and I were just talking about this. I mean, I'd say this is definitely. I think we both agree this is probably our favorite director.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
I think
I mean,
it
when
has
you
to
look
be.
at his
Yeah,
body
real
work-
original guys.
No, I'm just saying, dude. I'm
No,
not
I mean,
even joking.
he's-
I have.
yeah.
There's to me, there's no weak spot in the whole filmography. Like, I don't think there's
Yeah.
a bad movie. I don't think there's a movie that you need to skip. Like,
Yeah.
I think they're all good. Even Four Rooms is like this anthology one he did.
Yeah.
He has like a short in it.
Yeah, because there's like
dude.
a couple directors on that.
Yeah, him, Robert Rodriguez. Try that again.
Cut.
Robert Rodriguez. Jesus Christ. But even the ones that he doesn't actually direct
Yeah,
are good.
it's just good.
True Romance.
Well,
From
True
Dusk Till
Romance
Dawn.
he wrote, and then he
Yeah.
wrote Natural Born Killers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then From Dusk Till Dawn, he originally was
Yeah.
writing that, and then became just the actor in it.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like his
Because that on
He
the
just
case
doesn't
it
miss.
says from Robert Rodriguez and Quentin
yeah,
Tarantino.
like it was.
Yeah.
I think that's one of his first things he was hired to do, and then
Yeah.
he ended up not. It ended up not being his official screenplay. But
But he always gets the best actors and
Yeah.
like the best out of the actors.
Yeah.
And like he's doing the new movie, The Movie Critic, and he's saying it's his last movie, and I'm like, no. it
Well, he
can't
said that
be.
about Hateful Eight. He said that was his last movie. He said that about Django. So
Well, he said he's doing 10 and then stopping,
oh, so we're
and
here.
this is 10.
I
over
don't.
here.
But I feel like he said this about other movies though. He's been
I
like,
don't know.
guys, I don't know.
This could be
is
it
my
though,
last
because
one."
now he actually is a little bit older now.
Yeah.
I hope not, like
Yeah.
because it's always like a spectacle,
I
and
don't
it's
know.
like, oh
Fucking
man,
Scorsese's still making
Tarantino's
movies,
coming
and
out.
he's 90 something.
Well, he said he doesn't want to get to be the director that's out of touch and
Yeah.
like can't make good movies anymore. But
Yeah.
like I feel like you said, like Scorsese,
Yeah, I mean
Spielberg,
they're
like they're
bad
still
movies,
ripping
yeah.
off good movies.
Yeah,
so-
Spielberg is still crushing.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, and there's always gonna be nerds like us that even if the director is 1,000 years old, we're gonna go see it.
yeah.
yeah.
But we didn't even get into what we watched this week.
Oh, yeah.
We
No,
just
we
completely
didn't.
blew through
Oh, I got
Reservoir
some, I got
Dogs.
some fucking good ones.
All right, you get one now.
One?
You're
No,
funny.
dude.
Yeah, dude,
Fuck
you're in
you.
trouble.
No.
We each get one. We pick one.
I don't mean that.
Yeah.
No, don't fuck you. You're nice. I like you a lot.
I'm just gonna clip that and play it
Don't
to
fuck you.
myself. Just be like, I really needed these words today.
Don't fuck you.
Thank you so
Great.
much.
Yeah, so Keith, start us off with your pick because you started this mess.
All right, so I saw. I got.
Man.
I always do my theater ones first. Monkey
Yeah.
Man. I saw that.
Oh, you said that
That's
was
a
awesome,
watch.
right?
Shit, I want to watch
Yeah,
that.
Dev Patel.
My brother-in-law Justin saw that.
Dude, it's
He said
fucking
it was-
crazy.
He said it was crazy.
Yeah, so it's Dev Patel from Slumdog Millionaire.
Didn't
all
he
grown up.
shatter several bones while he was filming that?
I don't know that.
I think I read that
I could
he
believe
actually
it.
like shattered a rib or something like that while he
I
was
think
doing
I
it.
saw that.
I
too.
could believe that because
Like he was going so
Yeah.
all out with the stunts that he.
So this
blew
movie is
something
like John Wick, and they also have like a John Wick joke in it, which is really funny.
Yeah.
It's like he gives him a gun at one point, and he's like, "It's the gun from John Wick, except it's from
Yeah.
China." Gives it to him, right? He doesn't use the gun though. I think he shoots it into a wall. I don't think he ever uses the gun again. And then have you ever seen the movie Ong Bak,
No.
the Thai warrior movie?
Mm-mm.
Tony
I didn't
Jaa.
see that.
Okay, have you seen The Raid? Have you guys seen any?
I saw Raid.
The Raid. Okay, so The Raid is a good example
That's
of a
a
movie
cool
where
one.
you're basically literally fighting literally up and down a building.
Yeah.
It's like that meets John Wick, like the style of John
Oh,
Wick,
shit.
but in India.
That's pretty.
And then
cool.
there's like an Indian folklore, the Hanuman or whatever. I didn't know anything about it until the movie.
Yeah.
And then there's like this mythic thing happening, linking like his childhood to now.
Yeah.
And
This-
then
was
there's
this-
just insane martial arts all the way through the movie, and then at the end, dude, it's the most like crazy bullshit of all time. Like, it's basically him and like
It's the craziest bullshit of
it's
all time.
fucking crazy. All these people in face paint just start basically are like it's like a team up, and they just fuck everyone. Like they crush. They're just beating the crap
Yeah.
out of everybody.
So this was produced by Jordan Peele, right?
Produced by Jordan Peele,
Yeah.
but it's written and directed by Dev Patel
Yeah.
and starring
Yeah, I
Dev
saw
Patel.
he directed
Yeah.
that. That's
And then
crazy.
it's literally him training. It's like him doing the kickboxer training montage.
But I know-
learning how to.
Jordan Peele was like, "This movie is awesome." Like he was
Yes.
so excited, and like he hasn't. I
He
would
doesn't
argue
miss.
he has incredible taste in movies in general. Like he doesn't miss at all.
He doesn't miss.
And he was like, "This movie's
Yeah.
gonna be awesome," and
All
then
his-
like he was super hyped to
all
produce
his
it.
all his directed movies are insane. Then everything he's been doing, he was involved in that Candyman remake, and I'll
Yeah.
say that
Yeah,
I know we shit on remakes, but that was a good remake.
That was
Yeah.
a good remake. I did want to watch.
That was
it.
worth
I
it,
haven't
and it
watched
was
yet.
like it brought like the relevance because that was a very like high racial tension movie.
yeah,
It was like very very good at what it did, especially for the 90s. It like took that, transported it to now, and made it relevant to now. And
Yeah.
it wasn't like in a way that felt forceful or like over the top. It was definitely like
it just did. Yeah,
it was definitely a
they
wake
did
up
good job.
and think
Yeah.
about things. And if movies is how you have to see that,
Yeah,
this is a good representation of that.
yeah,
That's cool.
that is pretty cool.
Yeah, so I think Monkey Man is a huge watch. Another huge watch, Civil War. Saw
Oh
that?
yeah,
Oh,
I
you
heard
saw
you
that?
talking
Bro.
about that today.
Damn.
Or
That movie's
was
crazy.
it yesterday? You were talking about.
Yeah, I
it.
saw it on Sunday. That movie's nuts.
Yeah.
So Olivia was like, I don't know if I want to see it. Like we saw that trailer, and we don't watch trailers, but the amount of times we go to the movies is a lot. I
Yeah.
think I've seen that trailer 9 times.
Yeah.
And
I feel like that movie kind of came out of nowhere though. Like I feel like
Yeah.
all of a sudden I've seen it.
Well, Keith is
Everywhere.
Keith is always like a go in cold guy. Like I'll
I
send
love
him
going in
trailers
cold,
and he'll be
dude.
like,
I respect
no,
that.
I'm not watching.
I
it."
no, I just
like-
like a little blurb that says, Michael Mann's got a new movie. That's all
Yeah.
I got to hear.
But
Yeah.
see, I'm like a trailer guy. Like I get hyped on
Nah,
trailers.
yeah.
So, anyways,
Like, I'm
this
like, oh,
trailer.
I'll watch it 5 times and be like,
Yeah.
I can't
I'll
wait
watch
for
like
this.
one scene. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be awesome.
So this trailer, I think, is great for promotion because it got everyone like hyped about this movie, but
Yeah.
it doesn't. The movie is nothing like the trailer. So
Yeah.
in the trailer, I think the biggest scene is like, "What type of American are you?" So you're
Yeah.
thinking, "Oh shit, this is right versus left. This is,
Yeah.
racially charged. Like this is gonna be like one of those." Honestly, it makes that trailer makes it look like it's gonna be Purge election year or something.
Yeah.
Like so Olivia's like, "Yo, I've seen this movie 1,000 times. Like it sounds awesome, but I'm not wasting my time going to the theater. So have fun." And I was like, "All right, fine." So I went with other people.
And I did have a fun time.
And I will tell you what, you get in there, it is an actual film. It is
Yeah.
nothing like a Purge
Yeah.
movie. Nothing wrong with Purge movies. It is not like that though. There is racial tension. It's not in the forefront. There is political. It is not in the forefront. There's no side given.
Yeah.
It is basically like a future dystopian movie. There's no real time frame. It's somewhere in the
Okay.
future.
Yeah.
So it's like really timeless all around. It's beyond where we are now, but it's not like 2026. It's like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And it's not like,
It's like the day
So when you
after the
got home,
so and
did you
so
say-
election.
it's not like,
yeah, and
it's
you're
not
like, oh,
like
here
in,
we
a,
go.
in a time where we are divided into 2 parties, like we have been for the last 100
Yeah.
years. We have red versus blue. It's not like that at all. It's nothing like that, and it's like
From Michael Bay. And
That's
you're like,
what-
oh, here
that's
we
what I was
fucking
gonna say.
Red versus blue.
Red versus
we were
blue.
talking about it. My buddy
Yeah,
who saw it, he's like, yeah, that might be one of the best movies I've seen. Like
Yeah.
just the best
That's
put together
A24,
movies.
right?
It's A24.
Yeah.
Did
And
you get
it's,
home and say, Olivia, you messed up.
Well, she
you
had
missed out.
She
had
like, hey, I
plans.
stopped by the
So
store
was,
and bought you a
She was
clown
out doing
nose.
stuff, and like, so
Right.
she's like, yeah, I'm not like she was out seeing friends that were from town. Like she was
Yeah.
doing like real stuff. So it wasn't like she was just sitting at home. If she was
Okay.
sitting at home, she would have just come.
Yeah.
But it was like one of those things where she's like, yeah, I'm not figuring out plans and switching things up to go see
Yeah.
a movie. I don't really like. I'm not like
Yeah.
you. She's like, I'm not like you. And I'm like, okay.
Damn.
Oh
You're like,
well,
wow, that's hurt
your
my
boy signed
feelings
up
a
for
lot.
Regal Unlimited, so basically saw it for free. Oh what? He had 2 free vouchers for his friends to go to. Oh what? So everyone got to go see Civil War for free. What's the problem with that?
Yeah.
I don't know what that was.
I mean,
Anyways,
that's gonna be the only episode.
so Jonathan Glazer, I think it's he like announced that's gonna be the last movie he directs. I guess he's over that.
yeah,
Yes,
he literally
I
did
saw
one
he said
directed
that.
movie, and he was like,
But
yeah,
he's
fuck
still
that.
involved in the new 28 Days movie. Like he wrote those
28.
movies.
Oh yeah, 28 months.
So he's the writer on those movies.
Or
So
no,
he's
28 years later.
28 years
right?
later. He's
Yeah.
involved in that. He has another movie that he's co-directing or producing, but that's it.
Yeah.
I don't know what the problem is, but
Yeah.
the movie is fucking awesome. It's
Yeah.
like not what you think. Like it just follows reporters across. It's almost like if Zombieland wasn't funny, like that kind of situation where they're like the world is fucked up and they're like traveling through
Yeah.
to get to where they're going and they're like reporting, but like the world is set up where like reporters are like kind of they have like press written on their trucks. They're almost like not untouchable, but they're like wartime reporters in the new world, and so like neither side that's fighting is like taking them out. They're just kind of like almost proud that they're there so they can see what's happening.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
But it's like I know that sounded like I gave you a lot. I gave you just basically the gist, and it's
Yeah.
still like it's
So
worth-
that's 2 watches then, right? So
Oh,
we
dude,
got Monkey Man.
I don't do no watches anymore. Actually, no, we did. A
All right,
few.
let me get one more Keith pick.
So what did we watch? I'm gonna throw a couple. I'm sorry. There's just gonna be blurbs though.
Okay.
Me and Sean watched Ransom again.
Oh, it's
That
a great
movie. If you haven't seen that, that is a awesome
It's a
thriller.
great movie. I just
Um,
watched that recently too.
And then I watched Who's the Man, which is it's classified as a hip hop whodunit, and it is awesome. It has
Yeah.
I'm not even joking. I think it has 40 rapper cameos in it,
That's pretty great.
and Dennis Leary as well. And speaking of Dennis Leary, I also watched Judgment Night, where he's also a bad guy in that movie. Well, he's a cop in the movie, bad in the next movie. But we rewatched Boondock Saints. I haven't seen that
Oh,
in
that movie's
probably
great.
I don't know. I can still quote it, but I haven't seen it
Yeah.
in
I haven't seen
20
it in a while
years.
either.
That's such a good one.
Dude,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, why don't I watch this movie? It's like when I watched Fight Club after 20 years and Requiem for a Dream after 20 years. Like, yo, why don't I watch these movies? Like, I'm always
Every
like,
day.
I'm like,
Yeah.
well, because it's always like, oh, what's your favorite movie? Fight Club, Requiem for a Dream, Donnie Darko, Boondock Saints. Like, it's like everyone
Yeah.
has like, oh, yeah, they think they're like a film guy and that. So I just like almost like stay away from like talking about or seeing those movies because I'm
Yeah.
like, I've seen them, I
Yeah.
love them, but like, goddamn, there's so many more movies. But
Yeah.
dude, they're fucking classics. Like somehow.
That was on the block for our St. Patty's Day episode till
Oh,
we landed
yeah.
on
Yeah.
good old Leprechaun.
Dude, I would
God.
1,000 times over rather done Boondock Saints.
Yeah, we can never do that again. That's wild.
But I did watch Flatliners with your
Oh.
boy Kiefer
Yep,
and
great
Kevin
movie.
Bacon. That movie kind of fucks. It's coming to.
That's Joel Schumacher.
It's a
too.
Schumacher. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
coming to. It's coming somewhere. Oh, they're doing it. Is that part of? It's part of the Bacon weekend, I think, at Mahoning.
Oh, it is.
Flatliners and Tremors the one night,
Oh, that's sick.
and then Footloose and Tremors the next night.
Damn.
Yeah, so I'm gonna
Nice.
probably go to
Yeah,
that.
that sounds like a good time.
All right, last one, Baby Driver.
Oh, that movie's so
Rewatch.
good. Yeah,
Haven't seen it for a couple years.
that movie's
Dude,
awesome.
That movie is so good.
Yeah, that's.
Jamie Foxx.
I
That
haven't
movie
seen it
is
in a while. But that is a
unbelievable.
good one.
I like the scene where he's like, he's not even paying attention back there, and then the kid is just like, "Baby, you got it," and he's just like, "Yep." Like, yeah, that
Yeah,
was
that
a really
movie's
good
awesome.
one. So Jack, what do you
Yeah,
got?
I
What-
took way too much time. There, I'm sorry.
yeah, it's fine.
So-
I'll charge you $10. Everyone Venmo request Keith.
No, I'll give you
No,
50.
dude, that was fine.
I'll give you 50. It's fine.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't watch like a ton of stuff, but me and Aaron watched Wild America, which is the old movie with Sawa and Jonathan Taylor Thomas, where they go on they go out to take pictures of wildlife, basically. But it's like all this crazy stuff happens, like with alligators and
Yeah.
bears and shit like that. It was pretty cool. I mean, I saw it a lot when I was younger, but I hadn't seen it in a while, so we
Yeah,
watched
I've never
that.
even heard of that movie. Yeah, did you know that one, Keith? Did you hear?
No, what's crazy is Sean, because Sean is we talk about this shit. Like if we find like someone's like we gotta watch this movie.
Yeah.
That was one of the movies that they were all talking about.
Yeah.
And he's like, I was talking on the phone. He's like, "You've seen that, right?" And I was like, "Bro, I have no recollection
No
of that
idea
movie.
what
It's not
that
that I
is.
haven't seen it. I don't even know what it is."
Yeah, I don't even know.
And he's
that
like, "Dude, I
existed.
saw that movie like literally 100 times when I was
Yeah.
a kid." And I was like, "Really?"
Yeah.
Usually, like, if someone's seen a movie 100 times, you at least know what it is. And I was like, bro, I love Devon Sawa. I have no idea what that movie is.
Yeah, well, that's why I like that. I mean, that's why. I mean, just to get kind of like take a step back. I mean, that's why I like talking. That's why we like. That's why all of us like talking about movies, because it's like even after all this time, we still find shit that you're like, oh my god, I had no idea this movie existed, and this is incredible. Like,
I follow these like movie pages,
Yeah.
on Facebook and Instagram,
Yeah.
and like shit will pop. Oh my god, I never even heard of this.
Yeah.
And then I'll watch it and be like, that was insane.
This is great.
But me, Keith, and Sean watched this movie called Source Code.
Oh, yeah. I totally forgot we watched that.
Yeah, we watched that last Thursday, and that movie was fucking awesome.
What was that about?
It was Jake Gyllenhaal. It's like a 2011 movie. Basically, he's like a soldier.
You gotta keep that. That is crazy.
Sable,
I guess
you're insane.
I guess Sable didn't like.
Yeah,
that
Sable
movie.
didn't like that movie.
That was the craziest grumbling growl I've ever heard.
We're gonna keep that in.
Yeah, keep that in. I like that.
That
I think
was Sable's opinion.
People
on
like
that movie.
dogs.
Yeah,
I think.
She's like, stop talking about source code.
Yeah,
She's like-
Sable's like, oh my god, get to the fucking episode.
No, the name Source Code sounds like the movie's gonna suck, but it legit is
It's
awesome.
really good.
Yeah,
It's like
despite what Sable says.
it's like he's like a soldier that has to go back. It's like a sci-fi kind of thing.
Okay.
It's just to go back in time and try to stop like these attacks that are happening.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool. Like the whole twist and everything at the end is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So we watched that. We all liked that. Sean had seen it in theaters, but he forgot some of it, so we
you
watched
just went
that.
back.
I've been watching Only Murders in the Building.
Oh, that show's so good.
I know,
Yeah,
and
and I crush that.
Well,
show.
I love
Yeah.
Steve Martin.
Yeah.
He's so funny, I think.
Yeah.
And Martin Short's hilarious too. But
Oh, yeah, they're both
that's a really good show. My wife watched it and then she said, "You got to watch this so we can both watch it when it comes out." So I've been watching that, and then the last one is I started the new Roadhouse with Gyllenhaal, and I fell asleep like half hour in, and then I was watching it. It's cool. Like it's in the Florida Keys.
Yeah.
Which I'm going to next week.
Yeah.
Or I guess when this drops, I will have
already been there.
But yeah, I mean, it was kind of cool. But like, I fell asleep. My wife watched the whole thing. She said it basically was just like a 2-hour bar fight.
Yeah.
Which I was like, all right.
I mean,
well,
like
I'll go back.
I mean, you've seen the original.
Oh yeah, the
one.
original
I
is
mean,
amazing. So
yeah.
I'll go back and watch the rest of it. And,
Yeah. The famous line, I believe it is, "Pain don't hurt," from Patrick Swayze. I think he's getting like stitched up. She's like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, doesn't it hurt?" And he goes, "Pain don't hurt." It's just a wild line.
And what about you? Let's see what you've been
haven't
watching.
watched a single movie since we last recorded. And I'm not even kidding. I'm not even doing
I think you're on probation right now.
Why am I on probation?
Because
I've been crushing Bar Rescue and you're mad about
no,
it?
if you tell me this one more time,
no.
I'm
What
the
have
new
I
host.
actually been watching?
I'm the new host, and then we're all fucked because I can't. I'm like a squirrel.
No, I finished Loudermilk. I watched 3 seasons of that.
Okay.
Bro, so okay, I didn't watch a movie, but I watched 3 seasons of a TV show. It's like, I didn't do anything since the last time. I do a movie podcast, but I
I've
didn't
been
watch
watching
shit.
much,
But I did that.
Just 3
and then
seasons of this show.
In one day, I watched all 8 episodes of the miniseries Unlocked on Netflix. It's about like the prison experiment, where they basically like it's this prison. They try and like they're trying to do like basically make it a more like not like a better environment to like help people's like mental health instead of just like locking people in a cell for like 23 hours a day. They unlock all the doors for a month. They leave everything unlocked except for like the main door.
So they're in prison, but like they can move around.
And basically like the sheriff, the dude in charge of it is basically like, look, if you guys fuck up, like we're done. And it's basically like a docuseries. It's 8 episodes, 8 1-hour episodes. So I watched this all in a day, which is kind of a bummer, but it's and they basically just follow like what happens, and it was really, really interesting to see.
So where did that take place?
I can't remember where. I don't know what prison is. I don't know where the prison is. I can't remember the name of it.
What's that on Netflix?
Netflix, yeah,
Nice.
It's called Unlocked. It like just came out. It just popped up on like my, like recommended or whatever. So yeah, those
like,
two
I
things.
just ripped 3 seasons of Loudermilk. I might as well watch.
Yeah.
So he's like that's
Unlocked.
he leads with, yeah, I didn't watch shit, and it's like, well, actually, I watched probably more than you guys have watched because of the amount of stuff I've watched.
Yeah.
So
That's fair.
I did finish. I forgot to tell you this. I was going to tell you at work offline, but I did finish Sopranos finally.
We have to talk about it after, like just outside of the show.
Yeah,
because
can I
we're
just
going to
say
be here
that
for
I'm
50 years.
Well, I'm not going to talk about
Give
that.
me a thumbs up or thumbs down
On the
last
ending?
Yeah.
Dude,
I
fine, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, you're
Bullshit, dude. I was
No.
like, oh, okay. No, okay. I like how
love it.
it ends.
I
Where you
thought
don't,
liked it.
I thought it couldn't have ended any better.
I like how it
personally.
ends, and you don't know what happens.
Dude,
I like that.
spoiler.
You don't know what happens. You have no idea.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Is that a spoiler?
You've
Jeff.
not seen the Sopranos. You've seen the Sopranos, right?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I didn't say anything.
That's
It's
true.
ambiguous
Actually,
ending.
yeah.
Ambiguous
I think a
ending.
lot of people-
But then if you
No.
look anywhere online, I don't know if the writer actually said it, but then like everyone online's like, oh well, this happens, and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah,
the
I don't.
actual
I actually
director-
don't want that to happen because that kind of sucks. That sounds like a cop out to me. That's like Dexter all over again. Well, Dexter's after this,
Yeah.
but it's like,
Well, you know,
oh,
so
get to the end and
David,
blah.
what's his name? David Chase, the
He's
director
like
of it.
yeah.
He actually came out in an interview and was like, "This is the actual ending of The Sopranos." I'll try and find the interview.
Yeah.
But he basically, in an interview, is like, they didn't intend on shooting it that way. He edited it and just like delivered that. And so people were like,
shit.
"Oh shit, we didn't know." And
Yeah,
so,
But it's
yeah,
ambiguous though.
Yeah, but joke's on us because that show came out 20 years ago and we're still talking about it.
Yeah, that's true.
So-
well, it's the first time. That is the
Yeah.
first time I saw the last episode.
How
Yeah.
good were those last two episodes?
The
though?
second to last episode, I think, is one of
Insane.
the best episodes of TV.
Yeah.
And then the last one is okay. It's pretty good.
It's just, I loved it so much.
It's
It was like really good
it's
to the
really
last
fucking
15
good.
minutes, and I'm like, this is pretty good.
Everyone watches Sopranos right now, the whole series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
anyway.
so I did watch Reservation Dogs. I started that because it's kind of related
Yeah.
to this. It's like a Hulu series that I guess it's three seasons in. I only watched the first couple episodes, but it's like a bunch of kids that live on a reservation,
Oh.
and they start out with a heist, but the heist is of a chip truck, not of
A
diamonds.
chip truck.
But then there's subtle drops. Like
Yeah.
they have a
Yeah.
Reservoir Dogs poster. The one guy calls himself Mr. Camouflage at one point. They're a bunch of kids. They recreate the scene where they're doing the slow walk. It's from like a funeral instead of like they're just like slow walking with each other. But, like
Yeah.
there's a different. It's like a different setup, but they're wearing the suits coming from a funeral. Like they're just huge
Little
nods,
homages
huge
throughout
nods
it.
to it. And like I
And
don't
you
know.
said that was a Hulu series? Or
Yeah, I
is
don't know
it
if it-
newer or is it
it's
just...
a couple years old.
So when I
think.
actually looked for Reservoir Dogs, when I was just like looking up to pull up my notes, that I typed in
Yeah.
Reservoir and Reservation Dogs,
Because
and
that's,
that
like,
both
current.
popped up.
That's current now.
So yeah, that's pretty cool.
I think the
It's
newest
like
season's
current
out now, but that
thing.
was cool. Oh, and I got one more. I watched this movie La Haine, or
Okay.
it's French for hate.
Uh-huh.
Dude, that movie is incredible. It's a black and white movie, 90s. Vincent Cassel is the main.
Oh,
in it.
I've heard about that.
It's like somehow it's like one of the prettiest movies I've ever seen, and it's in
Yeah.
black and white. But it's like it takes place during like these riots in France,
Yeah.
and it's just like teenagers that it's kind of like you're like just walking around with them while everything's happening, and they're like trying to figure out what's going on. Like they're like trying to like everyone's trying to revolt against the cops. It's like
What year did you say this one was? Was it in-
95.
Oh, okay.
It's like
Okay.
it's on Criterion Collection. It's like a really big, like monumental
Yeah.
like cinema movie. But like
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, and like Olivia had seen it, and my other buddy was like, "You gotta watch it." And I'm like, "Dude, it's been on my list for a long time. I finally watched it. That is
Very good.
that's like everybody should watch this movie.
Yeah. What was
It's
the name
like,
of it again?
It's
for
called
the people?
Lahaine, LA space HAINE. Yeah, and it's like
Okay.
it's French for hate.
Yeah.
But don't watch the 2020 movie called Hate. It's if you're like trying to do it like on Roku or something, it kind of,
Yeah.
or on Tubi, it takes you to the
Okay.
wrong one.
Sabe's fired up about that one again.
But yeah, that movie,
Yeah.
it's just like the way it's shot. Everything like there's a bunch of like close-ups with the people. You're basically like, with them,
Yeah.
and
That's
then
cool.
they take you through like the streets and stuff. It's just a wild movie, but it's really
Yeah. No, that sounds pretty cool.
good. Okay, that's all I got. I won't
That's-
talk for the rest of the episode.
Okay, great. Awesome. So let's get into the plot, or I guess we can go over some of the background. So obviously we were doing Reservoir Dogs. This came out in 1992. I like the description that it gives. I always like to give like what kind of criteria. So it's a neo noir crime film. Which I thought was just a cool way to label it. So it was written and directed by Quentin Tarantino, and it was produced by Lawrence Bender. Who wants to walk us through the? Oh, well, I got to do the. So the budget was this. It did okay. So the budget I'm seeing right now was about $1 to $3 million. I don't know how. Maybe with all the. I know they did like an extended cut.
I just saw something where they were talking about it being 900,000.
Really, I think that was the. I thought that was like the original. Maybe it was. I don't know. Sometimes it's tough to actually get an actual read on how much something cost. And then the box office, this is reporting 2.9 million.
Yeah.
So it basically didn't really do. It did fine, like it broke even just about roughly.
Well, yeah, that's what they say though. But I'm telling you, like if you look at, like I was listening to an interview with some of the people.
Yeah.
So I don't know what this adjusted 1.2 to 3 million thing is, but that like for an indie movie, this movie made like a good amount of money when it came out.
Well, apparently I read that it came out in America with no promotion, basically.
Oh, really? That's
and
pretty
then
wild.
in England, though, they were promoting it, and Tarantino couldn't even walk the streets of England without getting like
because people were
people
like,
were coming up. Oh my god, this is amazing! And this movie's actually like a lot of English directors like watch this movie like as inspiration.
Oh, that's
which is
pretty
crazy.
Cool. Yeah, that is pretty neat.
And this is from his Dog Eat Dogs production. Like this is like this is like as small. Well, not as small as it gets, but like as big as small as big can get.
Well, I think basically what I was going after is like he wasn't like a household name, so to speak, at this time. So like obviously now, like I'm sure if we look up the numbers for like Hateful Eight or Django Unchained, it's like we were just talking about it. If he makes another movie, I'm just gonna go see it. You know what I mean?
I'm there. Yeah.
I think it was cool that he was like, even when he wasn't a quote unquote household name, he was still cranking out awesome movies like this.
The fucking cast is
Do you
ridiculous.
want to walk us through the cast?
Like the cast. So he got Harvey Keitel to star.
Yeah.
Off a fucking Oscar nom.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts.
Like he had an Oscar nom for Bugsy the year before.
Yeah.
And then just was like, yeah, I'll do this movie.
Yeah.
And
you mean this cast as in the prequel to the Pulp Fiction cast? Because most of these people are basically show up in Pulp Fiction. A lot of them show up in Kill Bill later on in his career. So I think it's cool that he used the same
some
group.
of his guys.
And then Keitel also does Bad Lieutenant the same year.
Yeah.
Which is another crazy movie.
Yeah. But sorry.
But Tim Roth. So Harvey Keitel's Mr. White. Tim Roth's Mr. Orange. Michael Madsen is Mr. Blonde, who's just amazing in this movie.
He's literally like Tarantino's muse, I would say. He's literally, I think he's only done like Tarantino movies and then like B-list movies. I think that was
he was in Free Willy.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Excuse
no,
me.
he has a couple other things, but everyone knows him for this.
Yeah.
Chris Penn is Nice Guy Eddie, who
brother of Sean Penn.
He kills it.
Yeah, he does. He did do a great job.
Steve Buscemi's Mr. Pink, and he's amazing. I mean, everybody's amazing. Like the acting in this is just insane.
Yeah,
it's like immaculate. Lawrence Tierney is Joe Cabot. Randy Brooks is Holdaway. And then Edward Bunker is Mr. Blue. Tarantino's Mr. Brown.
Yeah.
And Kirk Baltz is Marvin Nash. And then there's a couple other guys in it, but that's basically.
I think that's like that's
what Stephen Wright does all the
radio
voice,
yeah, that is.
And he has like such a distinctive voice.
Oh, for sure.
But I mean, the cast is great.
And then Eddie Bunker is actually like a convict.
Yeah,
he was an actual criminal, and then he actually came out and wrote books and stuff afterwards. So it's kind of crazy that there's like, all right, well, now you're in Reservoir Dogs.
But it's just crazy to me like that. Like this is his first big movie, and he got that cast.
Oh yeah,
yeah. That is pretty insane.
That's just you're coming out of the gates with that. It's
so I actually watched it. It started from like a 10-minute or 11-minute short that he did the year before at Sundance, and I watched it, and it's okay.
And
it's
Buscemi was in there.
It's a different Joe. But Buscemi actually, the roles are a little different. He's Mr. Pink, but like he's Larry also. So it's like the roles are slightly different. And then Tarantino plays Mr. White.
Yeah.
And it's like it's okay. It's definitely like some of the scenes are still like the dialogue is still there, but it's like definitely like workshop kind of thing.
Well, and I was just gonna say the cool thing about the billing on this is that it doesn't come in the beginning of the movie. Because the diner scene is first, which is just a great iconic opening scene.
Yeah.
And then it has them walking down the street, like all slow-mo with that sick song playing.
Yeah.
And then it's like, it just goes like Harvey Keitel goes through.
Yeah.
And I think it was really cool because they say all the names and then it goes R and then it scrolls up to Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah, I did love that.
Which is really cool.
That's something that I think carries through his a lot of his other movies too.
Yeah.
He's
music
just so cool.
is amazing.
Yeah. I saw that this was apparently something that he had wanted to film for a while. I don't know. Was this his first movie?
Yeah.
This was his very first.
He has.
movie?
Well, he has
he did one like My Birthday Party or something like that.
Yeah,
but this
that
was
wasn't anything
1987.
like
That
but this was
yeah.
his first like
That was like a truly independent movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is his first like big splash
Yeah.
into Hollywood.
Well, he apparently this is just something I'm reading now. Is he was working at a video archive,
Yep.
and he was like, "Oh, I have a plan to like make this movie," and he was like scraping together a budget. It says here that he was able to get $30,000 and a 16mm black and white camera to start shooting like the original whatever. I mean, that was his plan, but
Yeah.
he also has a podcast. Quentin Tarantino has a movie podcast called Video Archive.
Yeah, with Roger Avery.
Which
Yeah,
is
that's
really
really
cool.
Yeah.
I've listened to like the first 5 or 6.
Yeah, they I think they talk about like they both pick a movie and talk about like why this is incredible.
Dude,
They
they also
Basically.
did you listen to the one they did about freaking Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
No, they did that?
They did a full Rick Dalton episode.
Oh,
but,
I didn't
like,
know that.
If you like, I got confused so many times because it's like it's obviously fake,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's like it's 2 parts too. They go
That's
over the
hilarious.
full history
yeah.
of Rick Dalton. But like, if you just tune in, you don't know anything about it.
Oh yeah, they play
You
it
think-
super
you
serious.
think you're playing-
Yeah,
you
they're like,
think
yeah.
you're-
So this guy, he was, and you're like, wait. I
Yeah,
thought
because
this
everything
was
else they're
like-
talking about movies as
Yeah.
their movies, but
Yeah.
they're talking about this like Rick Dalton is in our reality as a human,
Yeah.
and it's like insane the amount of detail they have. They're like, oh yeah, he
Yeah.
did this, and he's on the set of this, and it's like 2-hour
Yeah.
plus long episodes of this
Yeah.
guy's history, and I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
But
You know,
still-
Tarantino just got like blasted and was like, "How funny would this be?" Like,
Well, the weird thing is, like, I was listening to that when it came out because I was like, "Oh shit, Tarantino's doing a podcast. This is awesome." And my buddy Sean actually got me onto it. So me and him were actually listening to the episodes every week and watching one of the movies they cover
Yeah.
because they usually do like 2 or
at least
3.
does too. Yeah.
And but then it just got to a point where like there were some movies that we were like, "Oh, this is cool," and then it got to a point, and I haven't gone back to it, so it might have been different now. But like it got to a point where it was like, I don't want to watch any of these movies he's talking about. Like,
They're like super artsy.
yeah, like
movies,
super
yeah.
weird, and I'm like,
And he went super hard into exploitation,
and
like,
me
to
and
way
me and
past the
Sean were
main
like,
ones.
do you want to watch one of these this week? And they're like,
Yeah.
nah, let's just pick something
Because
else.
that's how you guys saw The Relic, right? You guys watched
yeah,
that one,
yeah,
and then
'cause he
Dark
said
Star
that
was
was
on
like
there.
one of his favorite. Yeah.
Dark Star's a comedy though.
Yeah,
I mean
but
that was Carpenter's first movie.
Yeah, that was
which
on there.
one's
That was one
pretty
of his
good.
movies.
Yeah,
That was-
that was an early episode too.
That was good.
Yeah.
But anyway, did you guys want to say anything before we get into the plot? I'm just looking at the time.
No,
This is such a good one. There's so much to talk about.
I know.
Keith.
What's up?
Nah, never mind. I'm just kidding.
What?
I'm just kidding. Are we ready to get? You guys ready to
Yeah,
get in the plot?
I'm ready.
Alrighty. Buckle the fuck up, everybody. So throughout this movie, they kind of just as like I think this is like a disclaimer I wrote. Throughout this movie, they flash from present day to going to the past. To like kind of walk through some of the characters and stuff like that. So it kind of syncs up in a really weird timeline. If you've ever seen, I mean, so the Hateful Eight, they did this in Django. They did this in a little bit. Pulp Fiction, basically was famous
Pulp
for
Fiction,
this.
they do it a lot.
And Reservoir. So basically, if you've seen a Tarantino movie, it's very on brand.
Yeah.
But if you're not used to the style, it's a little confusing. So just bear with us. So the movie starts out. We have 8 gangsters. They're eating breakfast together at a diner. They're basically kind of all using aliases at this point that you don't really know anything about, like why they're using aliases. But you have Joe Cabot and his son, Nice Guy Eddie. But then everyone else is basically using their aliases. So we've, as Jack mentioned before, we have Mr. Brown, Mr. White, Mr. Blonde, Mr. Blue, Mr. Orange, and Mr. Pink. And basically they are just chatting in a diner. The first conversation in the whole movie is awesome. This is like classic dialogue for, I think this is what, because Keith and I had talked briefly about this, that these types of, they're talking about tipping culture. They're in suits, they're using aliases, you have no idea why they're there, and Steve Buscemi's like, I don't fucking tip. I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry. And it just goes off in this whole like tirade of like, it's not my fault that people don't get paid a living fucking wage around here. And you're like, what is happening right now?
Yeah.
And then you find out it's for $1.
Yeah, it's for
Everyone
$1.
put $1 in, so he's literally.
yeah.
It's not like
Because
he's
the
like
first-
got $5. He's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
$1.
I know. The first line of the movie is Tarantino goes, like a virgin. It's about a guy with a big dick.
Oh yeah.
And they start talking about the whole Madonna thing.
Yeah.
And then they are like, he's like, Joe Cabot's like, yeah. He's like, I'll pay for breakfast. Everyone tip. Like, everyone throw in for tip. And then, like, Buscemi starts looking around. Like,
yeah, he's like, I'm not fucking... Yeah.
It's like, dick.
Yeah.
He's got a big dick coming out of my ear on this side. And I got fucking Toby Wong, Toby Chan, fucking Charlie Chan.
Oh, yeah, so I got to shout out Alex at work. His father named their family cat Toby Wong after this scene where Joe Cabot... who's going through a book. I don't remember why he's looking for someone's name. He's looking for a dude named Toby,
found
right?
a book. Like, he found his old...
It was like a contact.
Yeah,
like
he
an
found his
address
old contact book.
From
And
Jobs.
he's sitting there, he's going, Toby Wong, Toby Wang. And then...
Yeah, he's just like reading off the names.
And Keitel grabs the book.
Yeah,
and he's like... And Mr. Blonde's like, you want me to shoot this guy for you? And Keitel goes... Shit, you shoot me in a dream, you better wake up and apologize.
That's from a James Cagney line.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
That is pretty cool. So they kind of carry on this conversation. They get into a little bit of an argument over basically like, oh, you know, Mr. Pink's not footing the bill, whatever. And then the scene pretty much ends there. There's nothing really. At this point, you go into some dialogue by the almost like a nameless radio or a faceless radio host.
I just want to say one thing about that scene.
Oh, that's gonna be that's gonna be a spoiler for later on in the movie, though, right?
No, I'm not gonna say that.
Okay.
But what I was gonna say is when he's like, he's like, when I come out, I want my cup filled 6 times, like with coffee. And then they're like, you don't need 6 cups. And he goes, if she puts forth the effort, I might do it. He's like, if she's really special, I might tip. And
this is Steve Buscemi talking about well, if someone really goes the extra mile, I'll tip. And
Mr. Blue goes, what's special? Take in the back, suck your dick. and Nice Guy Eddie goes, I'd go over 12% for that.
Great.
I love that.
But Stephen
Another
Wright,
sign of the time, 12% was considered a good tip.
I know.
That's funny.
Stephen Wright does that voice for K. Billy DJ. He would also be the man on the couch in Half Baked later on in life. And
he's a comedian. Yeah, he's pretty funny.
And he's got that really dry voice.
Yeah, and he looks the same as I'm going to assume.
Yeah.
To this day, he probably looks the same.
Yeah. Yep. So the next scene is they're kind of entering, or they're all walking to a car. They're basically like, all right, let's get it done, basically. Again, you still don't really know what's going on. They're all walking towards their cars. You do the little, this is where they flash on each person and kind of introduce them. Like Jack said, they don't go right into the billing. And then it flashes Reservoir Dogs. And I wrote down a note. I kind of chuckled because the first thing I thought of, and I don't know why, I was like, oh, these guys look like the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones walking out of here all in suits. And I don't know why I thought that, but I was just like, that's kind of funny. Like, I don't know. There's no relation. I'm not even going to try and connect the dots, but I just thought that was funny. So the next scene is they are in a car. Mr. White and Mr. Orange are in a car. Mr. Orange is in the backseat, bleeding, screaming, saying, holy fuck, she shot me, I'm gonna fucking die. And you're like, whoa, they were just at...
I can't even do that voice he does. That voice is like, I'm gonna fucking die. I can close my eyes and picture.
He's like,
that's crazy.
Nails that scene.
That's so realistic.
Yeah.
Like, that's how you would be if you got shot in the stomach. And you couldn't get comfortable.
Yeah.
And then Keitel's like, are you a doctor?
Yeah, are you a fucking doctor?
Like, I didn't think so. You're going to be okay.
He's like, say the fucking words.
Say the goddamn fucking words.
So you just know that they have some kind of bond. You don't know how they have this bond, but you're just like, whoa. He's holding on. Like, they're not just 2 bank dudes or 2 dudes robbing a bank. They're like...
Yeah. Well, he's very like clearly trying to comfort him, which is actually going to be it's going to be a pretty cool theme.
Yeah.
Throughout this movie.
And he's like, she had a baby, man. She had a baby.
Yeah.
He's talking about the girl
what happened. Basically, the girl who shot him. So then they're back at their hideout. They all meet. They're back there at their their little warehouse, their rendezvous point. And this is just Mr. White and Orange. I'm just gonna say White, like whatever color. I'm not gonna do like Mr. so and so. So White and Orange rendezvous with Pink, who basically believe Pink is Steve Buscemi, who they instantly are like, why the fuck were there so many cops there? That was not supposed to be planned. Like they're basically just going over why everything was so fucked up the whole time. Orange is like, you got to get me to a doctor. Like, I swear to God, I won't tell anyone. And they're basically just like, don't you hang on, man. Yeah. He has the really great line. He's like, it takes fucking days to die from a gut shot. He's like, you're going to wish you were dead. Believe me. But it takes fucking days. And then he walks back and he's like, I don't know how much time he has left up there. Like, talking to Steve.
And he's like, take me to a hospital there. We can't take you. He's like, fuck jail, man.
Yeah. He's like, just dump me. He's like, I won't tell him shit. It basically ends in a shit show. You find out that they were supposed to be doing like some sort of robbery at this point. It ends horribly. They're kind of talking through like, oh shit, like we've had to fire, like there were cops there. We had to fire on the cops, and you can tell that things did not go the way that they thought it would go.
There's also a great line that Mr. Pink says to Mr. White, and he goes, "This is bad. This is bad. Is it bad?" And then Mr. White goes, "As opposed to good?"
Yeah. That's pretty awesome. Oh, Sable loves this movie. So yeah, they are again still back there at their hideout. So White informs Pink that Brown is dead and Blue and Blonde are missing. Blonde murdered several civilians during their heist. He was like, no one was reaching for an alarm. He just started shooting. And so you're kind of out of the gate like, all right, I don't know who these people are. Like, they're only using aliases. They have no idea what's going on. You're not super sure what they just did. So I love that this opens up into like pure chaos.
Because you don't, you have no idea. Because he's like, what the fuck was with Mr. Blonde?
Yeah, they're like, what was Blonde doing? Blue and Brown were over with Pink, and you're like, wait, what?
And he's like, that's the most fucking insane thing I've ever seen. That's what White says.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh my god, what happened? Like,
yeah. And so at this point, Mr. White is furious that Joe, who he's basically like, how could Joe hire someone like this? So you're like, oh, maybe they. Like, do they know each other? Like, there's still a lot of, like, early on in this movie, you're still trying to connect a lot of dots. But he's pretty much pissed that he's like, why would he employ Blonde, who they're basically describing as a psychopath? Like, he just fucking open fired on people. Pink reveals that they're like, oh, well, he's going to be really pissed when he comes here and finds this, and we don't have the diamonds. Now you know that they were supposed to be stealing diamonds. And Pink reveals to White that, no, I have the diamonds. I stashed them somewhere. Don't worry about it. Which, this is a really cool scene because there's chaos and White's like, how the fuck? Like, how did we get here and stuff? Yeah. And then Mr. Pink goes, oh, don't worry. I got the diamonds. And he goes, oh, good job, man.
Yeah.
So it's like he's instantly like, I know all those people died, but thank God we got the diamonds still, which I just thought was a really cool way of showing like, these guys aren't the best. Like, you're not supposed to be on their side.
And I think like a cool thing is like, the way they don't care about, like, they killed cops and they don't think twice about it.
They were like, we had to get away.
He's like, did you kill anybody? And he's like, yeah, a couple. And he's like, any normal people? He's like, just cops.
Just cops.
Yeah.
that's
like,
crazy.
Damn.
Like,
I think at one point he says something about like doing 10 years versus shooting a couple of them and getting out of there or something like that.
Yeah, he's like, it ain't no choice at all.
Yeah, which is just wild. As he's like fixing his hair in the mirror and stuff like that.
It's so fucking good.
It really is. So then they start arguing over whether or not they should get medical attention for Orange. They're like, no, he's gonna die, and Mr. Pink is like, fuck him. That's that's showbiz, baby. Essentially, he's saying like, look, sucks. Some people die, and we did our job.
And at this point, he lights 2 cigarettes. Well. It appears that he lights 2 cigarettes. I only noticed this when I was watching it. I wasn't even looking for this, but they do the lighter thing. He flips his, and then he goes to his. He never lights his. Like I was like, oh, because there's no smoke coming out of his, and it just like looked weird to me. So I rewound it, and he never lights his cigarette, and he's just talking like this, and his hand comes down, and he's just talking, and he just keeps talking like someone that would have a lit cigarette, but he never lights it. And then later on, he's just smoking the cigarette. But I was like, I feel like.
Is that like a continuity thing?
No, I feel like they made the mistake and he left it in there because there's another thing later on that's
like a continuity error.
But I think it's an intentionally left in thing. I don't think because there's a way bigger one later. That he leaves in because he's like people are going to talk about it.
He's like, do you want a cigarette? He's like, Pink goes, I quit. And he's like, why, you got one?
Why you got one? That is pretty great. So, at this point, they start to get into a more and more heated argument. They're like, no, fuck him. Like, we got to get out of here. And they're going back and forth. And they end up, they get into this big argument. And they end up drawing guns on each other, which is Keith has the shirt Mr. Pink is on the ground with Mr. White standing over him, and they're basically saying like, "Fuck you," like you don't know what you're doing, basically. And it's just I think if you see the picture, you know exactly what scene we're talking about. It's the iconic Reservoir Dogs.
It's on like the VHS cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the quote in that is amazing. When Buscemi's on the floor.
Yeah, I don't have that written down.
And he goes, "Fuck you, White. I didn't create the situation. I'm dealing with it. You're acting like a first-year fucking thief. I'm acting like a professional." That's so good.
That is such a great line. Which, I mean, they technically were hired guns, essentially.
Yeah.
So they end up standing down. They defuse the situation when Blonde arrives, and you find out that he has a kidnapped policeman with him, Marvin Nash.
Yeah.
It's just like, and he's the one, just to refresh everyone's memory, he was the one that basically just started open firing on civilians, and they were like, "This guy's a fucking maniac," and then he's back, and they're like, "Hey, buddy."
Yeah, but they're pit like
they're
in the beginning because
they're like, "What the fuck was that?"
He's like sipping on the soda.
Yeah, he took a stop,
and that's supposed to be from Big Kahunas, which is also
and he's
from
like
Pulp Fiction.
Yeah,
he's like they tell him like they tell him they think there's a rat.
Yeah,
and we need to like leave. Yeah, and he's like, "We're not going anywhere." And Keitel goes, "Piss on this fucking turd." And then they're like, "I'm not listening to a psychopath." Like,
yeah,
and they start like arguing about shit.
What was the? There's a really funny line. He's sitting. Mr. Blonde is sitting. He's basically sitting on some crates and stuff, and they're like, "And then you had to go and start shooting," and he's like, "Bravo!" And then he starts clapping for us. He's like, "Thank you." He's like bowing as they're basically walking through, like, "You just were a fucking psycho in there," and he's like, thank you, I appreciate." Like, you can tell that he doesn't give a shit of their opinions of him. Like, he's just like, "I did a job, and we're here now."
Then he says the iconic line.
Yeah.
You want to say it?
Are you gonna bark all day, little doggy? Or are you gonna bite?
And the best,
and he says, it basically says, "What did you say?" He's
like, "I didn't quite hear that." And then, like, if you see it when he says it again, Buscemi in the background puts his hand on his head, and then he's like, they start fighting, and he breaks them up, and he's like, and Mr. White's like, "What, you want to take his side now?"
Yeah.
And Buscemi has another great line. He goes, "Fuck sides. What we need is a little solidarity. Someone's sticking a red hot poker up our ass, and I want to know whose name's on the handle." I'm like, damn, dude. Great. Like, Pink has the best lines.
He really does. But yeah, a theme throughout all this arguing is like, there's no way that this wasn't a setup. Like, right from the beginning. Like, how could this have gone so wrong so fast? So now it's kind of at this point in the movie, it flashes to you're kind of before the heist. So this is the first of many times that it jumps back to kind of give some background and some context and really build the movie together. So we see Mr. Blonde meets with Joe and his son, and you find out that he completed a 4-year prison sentence. And basically he was like, "You know what? We really appreciate you not giving away our names." You can kind of tell that Joe and his son are I don't know if they're kind of like mafia type people, but you can tell that they have like, they are a criminal organization. This is not the first time. So they basically are like, to reward him, like, "We want to get you, when you're ready for work and stuff like that." And they offer to get him a dock. He's like, "No, I gotta like this halfway house. I need a legitimate job and stuff like that." And they said, "We're gonna get you a job down at the docks." He goes, "I don't want to fucking lift crates." And he's like, "The best part is you're never gonna go." He's like, "On paper, you'll be a dock worker." He's like, "Oh, your sponsor comes down. Oh, that was the day we sent you out of town 5 hours away to go pick up a delivery." So they're basically like, "Look, we can take care of a legitimate job for you, like, just to have on paper so you can get some cash. But what we really have is a big heist, and we would like to offer you a position on this."
Wait, we're talking about Mr. Blonde, right?
Mr. Blonde.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we find out his name's Vic Vega.
Yeah. So it's Blonde first and then Mr. White?
Mr. White first and then...
okay.
I just didn't talk.
I think I
just wasn't like
I
that.
think I just blanked out and missed something there. Okay.
I just didn't... I mean, that part, that was a really small... Yeah, I guess we can talk about that scene. Like, where Mr. White is basically...
Okay. No, I thought you said Mr. White, and I'm like listening, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait, we're talking about two different people, aren't we?
Well, Mr. White's scene is when he goes and talks to Joe.
Yeah.
And then he
asks that's right. That's right. Joe by himself, right? And then his son.
And he asks him about...
Nice guy, Eddie. Okay, my bad.
He asks him, like, "Are you still working with Alabama?"
Right.
Which is cool because that's supposed to be Patricia Arquette
from True Romance.
True Romance.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of these, like,
interconnected. So he's like, "Nah, I stopped working with her a couple years back or whatever." And then, so they talk, and then
So then I also read though that originally
Yeah.
I didn't know this, but originally Tarantino's script, Clarence was supposed to die. So that makes sense that she would have been like a.
So she
a
would
hit,
have.
that she would have been doing these
Yeah.
jobs because if the movie ends the way it does now, you know, Clarence and Alabama are together. They ride off in the sunset. It doesn't really like.
Oh, this
connect.
is True Romance. This is
Yeah.
I didn't. Yeah, I'm sorry.
So I mean, we kind of just spoiled the whole movie for you, but it's okay. No,
Oh,
we didn't
cool.
really. We didn't
Yeah,
really
no,
spoil
that's
it.
cool.
But anyways, so it's like it's cool because there
Yeah.
are so many fragmented things that
I
he
know,
sets
yeah.
up in this movie to every other single movie.
I know.
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, that's kind of a cool scene because he tells him what the heist is.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
he sets up the whole heist. So he's like, all right, well,
Yeah, maybe the scene was
diamond-
bigger than I remembered. I was like,
Oh no,
I
I thought
just
you
glossed
said
over
Mr.
this.
White, and then all of a sudden
No,
you
I
said
just-
something about
I was
the docks, and I was
covering
like, oh,
the-
that's
Well, it's
wrong.
just because he
Yeah.
tells
I was
him,
just
like,
covering Mr.
He just
Blonde.
goes
Yeah, no, you're
like, he's like, oh yeah, like these diamonds come in here, whatever. And he's like, they get picked up the next day and sent to Vermont.
He's like,
And
except they don't make it.
He's like, no, they're not.
And they're like, crime's
And then they
fine.
just start laughing, and then that's the scene.
Yeah.
But then the blonde
Blonde
scene
is next. Yeah,
yeah,
my bad.
and that's the one
Yeah.
that I just talked
That's
about.
when he
with
comes in. But yeah, you find out it's Vic Vega, and
Mr.
John
Blonde's real
Travolta
name
is Vincent Vega.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And apparently he was supposed to make a movie, The Vega
So John
Brothers.
Travolta in Pulp Fiction is Vincent
Yeah.
Vega.
And they
There's a
were
lot. I'm just trying to connect
Yeah,
it
yeah.
together. There's a lot going on
And
here.
they were
I'm sorry
supposed to make a movie, The Vega Brothers, but then they both got too old to reprise their roles.
Oh, that would
so
have been.
he
Yeah.
so he scrapped it. But
Yeah, and
That would have
supposedly
been cool. That would have been,
That
really
would've
cool.
been cool.
The one funny thing I read is supposedly Michael Madsen had struck some deal with Lifetime movies or something, and that's why like it wouldn't line up even back then. Like he couldn't get
Okay.
him for the next movie or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then it got dumped. And then both those characters die. So it's like, oh, well.
You happy?
Dude, if you haven't fucking seen Reservoir Dogs, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not saying stop listening to our podcast because I want you to listen, but Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But he says like
I just love giving Keith the disappointed dad face. No, it's
I was
fine,
like,
yeah.
fuck.
he
what-
tells
I mean,
him Scagnetti's.
no,
his-
dude,
Yeah,
you're
that's
right,
what
yeah.
I was gonna get at next.
he's
says
like,
his
here's
PO
your
is
parole
Scagnetti.
officer. He's like Scagnetti's. Like,
Yeah.
fuck.
And then Scagnetti's a huge huge
It's-
dickhead in Natural Born Killers.
Another
Sizemore
Tarantino.
Yeah.
in Natural Born Killers is well, this guy's Seymour Scagnetti, his Jack Scagnetti. In
Right.
So
It's different.
you think
but
it's like a different?
So
Well,
it might-
I
they
don't
might
know.
be like-
I think it's supposed to be related. There's no
Yeah.
way he
Yeah.
does. He basically does that, and then there's
Yeah.
the whole. I'll get into it. There's
Yeah.
one more like huge connection,
yeah.
and then there's a whole Tarantino verse that he has like behind the scenes
Yeah,
and
I know.
everything. Like
I know.
everything is
Yeah.
actually more connected than like I was reading stuff and I was like, is this made up? And then I go and read it. It's like coming from his like actual mouth.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh Jesus Christ.
Well, I mean, it's just to talk about something earlier that we mentioned, like with the Video Archive podcast. It's like this dude is not. If things you're like, oh, I wonder if that's a cool coincidence. No, he probably recognized that name and was like, oh, I'm just going to use this name for this movie. So it
like,
tied
all right,
together.
so real quick, all these movies line up in the real universe, and then From Dusk Till Dawn, Natural Born Killers, and Kill Bill are the movie universe. So they're supposed to be the movies that these people are all, like through this timeline are watching when they go to the movies, and like you don't see them watching the movie. These are the movies that like exist in that world.
Oh, so the characters in Reservoir Dogs understand the movie Kill Bill is a movie.
Yeah, and
Okay.
in Pulp Fiction, at the diner scene, like what is that place called? Oh my god, what's
The
that place
diner?
called? Yeah,
What?
The very end.
Rabbit's-
Jack Rabbits. Yeah, Jack
Rabbit
Rabbit Slims.
Oh,
yeah.
the restaurant. Yeah,
Yeah, but they're
Yeah.
talking about that heroin. They're talking about like that lady, like
Yeah.
that ass kicker. That is actually supposed to be.
Which is actually cool
Uma
because there
Thurman
is a
in Kill Bill.
commercial
Yeah.
about Jack Rabbit Slims in this movie. in
Really?
Reservoir Dogs. One of the radio spots is
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Jack Rabbit
That's
Slims.
really cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, so
This is like crazy.
yeah, no, I'm just I.
No,
I
it's
was
just a
trying
lot
to-
of, like-
it's cool to connect the dots.
I know, it's
though.
like
I mean,
connecting.
I feel like
That's
it's
what
only
I'm
going
saying.
to
It's
get worse
crazy.
from this point out as things happen too, because it's like, oh
Yeah, there's a lot
Yeah.
going on. But yeah, where were we?
Where they bring the cop in.
Oh, that's right. So this is
Yeah.
back in present time after
Yeah.
you find out basically how Mr. White and Mr. Blonde kind of get introduced to Joe and get involved in the organization. White and Pink are beating up Nash, the cop who's being essentially
Yeah.
just held hostage. They're like, who the fuck set us up? Like, you're a cop. You obviously know
Yeah.
what's going on. And he's maintaining, like, I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. Like,
Yep.
why? Like, they don't tell me shit. Like, he just keeps being like, I don't... What do you
Yeah.
want from me? Like,
He's like, I've been on the force 8 months. They don't tell me
Yeah.
anything.
Poor guy.
So this actor actually, like, I think he auditioned 4 times for this. Finally got it, and then he actually wanted to be driven around in the trunk so he could feel what it feels like. So Madsen just drove him around in the trunk.
Really?
And then at one point he's like, so I heard two different interviews, one from that dude, and then one from Madsen. And Madsen's was like, yeah, he was like in the back of the trunk. I could hear him say, "What the fuck are you doing up there?" And he said he pulled up the Taco Bell and ordered food, and he could hear. He's like, "Are you ordering Taco Bell?" He's like stuck. He's locked in the trunk.
Yeah.
So this is happening like before the movie's filmed. Like they're just trying to
just get
like
into
method
character,
act, I guess.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's how he comes
Yeah.
in ordering the soda, because he just told Quentin, he's like, "Yo, dude, I just drove this guy around in a fucking car. He's literally locked in the trunk in the dark.
Yeah.
He's just getting banged around. And he's like, oh, you got to have a fucking soda, dude. Talk about the fries.
Yeah,
like,
I do love that whole scene where he's just like, "Oh, did you finish your fucking fries with that?" And he's like, "Yeah, I was thirsty."
Right.
So yeah, now we are again present day. They're beating Nash, the cop, for information. Eddie arrives and orders them to go with. Basically, orders White and Pink to go with him to get rid of the cars. He's like, Joe's gonna fucking flip if he gets here and sees all of our fucking cars all shot up here. We basically gotta clean up our mess a little bit.
Yeah, when he gets there, so it's great because they have, like, when they're bringing the cop, it flashes the Eddie in the car, and he's like on the phone. He's like, I don't know who's caught, who made it, who died. I don't know.
Yeah, he's talking to Joe at that point, right?
No, he's talking to like an assistant or something.
Yeah,
okay.
Because when he gets there, he's like, I told you I hadn't talked to Joe yet, and then he's like,
that's right. Yeah.
But then he comes in, and he goes, if you beat this prick long enough, he'll tell you he started the goddamn Chicago fire.
Yeah.
And he's like, first things fucking last, just for my sake, who has the diamonds?
Yeah.
He's like, that's just the one little thing I want to know.
I think he also says, "What in the Sam Hill?"
Yeah.
I don't know if that's I don't know where that comes from, but this is where I got it from.
There was another movie that they say, "What in the Sam Hill is that?"
Yeah, and this is where
they say that in the movie
origin.
Elf.
Oh, what in the Sam Hill?
I don't know why. These are two very different movies, but that is pretty.
But I love that fucking line. First things fucking last.
Supposedly,
First things last.
Nice guy Eddie Chris Penn. Like he says he was sponsored by Nike at some point. I don't know if it's before this or after this. This is like in his interview, but he brought those clothes. Those clothes he's wearing.
Yep.
Oh,
those are his clothes.
That's pretty cool.
He's like, it's not. It's like it's embarrassing, but it's not that far for how I dress. I didn't have as much gold, but this is how I dress.
Yeah.
He's like,
That's
the movie.
pretty
This is
awesome.
where I got that fact. He's like, the movie was $900,000. He's like, everybody's worried about like everything. These guys are in their nice suits and stuff. He's like, the last thing you need, like, if you can come with your own stuff, like
a lot of the guys like brought their own shit.
Yeah,
like,
so he just
Harvey
brought his own.
Keitel,
That's
that was
cool.
his suit. Like,
brought his own fucking.
Buscemi's are in jeans, black jeans.
Are they really?
So he doesn't have suit pants?
No, it's like black jeans, but it looked like good enough.
Yeah, I mean, it fucking
shit,
convinced
bro.
everyone. That's pretty cool though. I love hearing about stuff like that though. They basically ditch they leave Blonde in charge of Nash and Orange at this point, which is awful. They were like, you can't leave this guy with him, and he's like, I don't give a fuck who's left with who.
Yeah, right.
He's basically like, I don't care if he's a psychopath. We have a job. We're gonna see it through. So Nash, he keeps denying that he had any involvement, that he knew about anything. But at this point, like, Blonde ignores him and just starts to torture him, really.
Yeah, because he's like, I've heard it all before.
Yeah, and he's just like,
I'm just going to torture you for my amusement.
For my amusement. He's like, and you know what? He's like, you're going to be wishing for a quick death, and I can promise you, you're not going to get it. And you're like, holy shit.
He points the gun right in his face.
Yeah.
Yeah, that part is brutal. He tapes his mouth and he's pointing the gun, and you can tell, like, he's like nervously, like, moving his head around, and you're like, realistically, he's just going to shoot you in the head anyways if he wanted to.
He's just laughing, like,
the
whole time.
Watching him squirm.
I mean, it's like, this is where you see, like, oh yeah, maybe they actually weren't wrong about how crazy this dude is.
And he puts on a Stuck in the Middle with You.
Yeah,
That's a great
and he's
song.
like, oh, I love this radio station. And he's basically cranking music because he's like, I don't want to, like,
he's like,
this guy's annoying me, yelling and acting up. Like,
he's about to torture me. He's like, you ever listen to K. Billy's Sounds of the 70s?
Yeah.
I can't believe we haven't said that. I don't think we've said that phrase yet.
K. Billy Sounds of the 70s.
We haven't said it yet.
That's
like between every scene.
Yeah, because they keep talking about it. They're like, I heard this song come on. It was great.
He proceeds to torture him. He cuts his ear off.
So this is actually a direct homage to Django, 1966. There's a literal scene where he takes his ear just like that. I think it's shot the same way too. He holds him and cuts his ear off just like that. So I'm like, dude, Tarantino's just fucking he's just a maniac, bro.
And
He just puts
and
everything.
he's
There's
holding
Easter
the-
eggs in everything. Everything is intentional.
Yeah.
And he's holding the ear. He's like, "Can you hear me?
Like,
Can you hear that?"
Can you hear me?
He's like, was that as good for you as it was for me?
Yeah. And then he goes to his car,
Yep.
which I really like this scene because he's just still torturing him, basically. He walks out to his car, and I believe this is the part where Orange no, actually it's a little later, but he walks out to his car, and there's the music going, and he's screaming, and then he goes outside. It's like a nice, beautiful day. It closes, and he's kind of like, there's like birds chirping, you hear like kids playing, and he's just kind of like looking around like, oh, what a nice day. Gets a can of gasoline and then walks back in, and just like the transition from like the outside of the warehouse, like the peaceful, serene nature, to like back to the chaos with the music playing and him like screaming inside. It's just like what a great transition.
Yeah.
Like
The
that
fact
whole
that music
scene.
stops and then comes back. As
Yeah,
soon
and
as
it's
back
like
in.
as
Oh,
like at the same exact spot it would be at.
Yeah.
Like where if he left for that long and came back, like, that's so cool.
It's like, Alexa,
Yeah.
stuck in the middle of you.
Yeah.
He pulls out the blade.
Oh, yep.
Yeah,
The,
he already. He
he
cuts
slices.
his ear. Yeah.
Well, he cuts his ear, but then he starts slicing his face.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he starts like cutting him to shit,
And he,
and then he pours the gasoline all
God,
over
dude.
him, and then he's just basically threatening to light him on fire.
He's like, "Does that burn a little bit?"
Yeah, and he
And he says, "I have a kid." So I found out this is a quick little fact. So when he says, "I have a kid," he's like freaking out. He have a kid. That actor recently found out that Madsen had just had a kid, and Quentin was having him kind of do ad lib stuff, and he used that, and he said it stopped Madsen dead in his tracks, and he's like, I don't want to do that part, and Quentin's like, no, that actually really works.
Yeah.
He's
It
like-
adds to the whole.
He's like,
Yeah.
so like, how crazy is that? He's like, yeah, I found
that
it.
was crazy.
He just ad libbed that, but it ended up being like a huge part of.
Oh
the movie.
yeah.
Yeah, apparently he said that, and then if you listen, like I don't know if it's in the actual movie or in a cut, but you can hear somebody go, "Oh no," because he said that, and like then Madsen like stopped because he's like, "I don't want to do this."
Yeah. Oh, was that like a behind the scenes type thing where you can see the full?
Yeah, like I guess he was like,
yeah,
"Oh
I didn't see-
no," I just
How
read
crazy is that?
but
Yeah.
like Tarantino.
I wonder if that was
like
like an initial cut or something where it was like,
Yeah.
oh fuck, we have to stop this. But yeah, he threatens to light him on fire, and just as he's getting ready to drop the lighter on him, Orange wakes up from his, I guess, like borderline coma, and shoots Mr. Blonde and kills him. At this point, he is like talking to Nash, and he reveals that he was actually the undercover cop. And the cop goes, "Yeah, I recognized you." And he's like, "Why didn't you say anything?" Basically, and he was like, "I just didn't want to." Basically, he just didn't want him to blow his cover.
Yeah, this scene is crazy.
Do you remember what
they're
he's-
both like gurgling, pretty much. They're both like,
Do you remember what he says when he lights the lighter and he's about to throw it down on the gasoline? And he lights it and he goes, "Have some fire, Scarecrow."
oh, that's right.
And
like,
as he's about to throw it, you just see him get blasted in the chest.
that's Wizard of Oz, right?
Yeah, pretty much. But he's like, "Have some fire, Scarecrow." Bang, he gets shot. And then, you see Tim Roth, like, he's just, like, holding his gun. Like, he's, like, barely, like...
He puts his entire clip into him, like all of his bullets.
Every time a gun is fired, all the bullets are fired. It's just a side theme in this movie, which is nuts.
But I will say, when they zoom away from the cut, when he cuts the ear and it zooms off to it's almost worse.
Yeah.
Because you're just like, oh, because all you hear is the screaming.
Yep.
And I'm like, God, that's kind of brutal.
I know.
When he's just
is.
screaming, and you're just looking at that sign that says "Watch your head," and you're just, well,
Yeah.
I don't think he can watch his head.
Yeah, that's oh, it is like, that is really brutal.
Yeah, but like you were saying, they start talking to each other, and he's like, "I met you," and he's like, "I don't remember that at all."
Yeah.
He's like,
But it's clear that he like knew who he was,
Yeah.
which I just think is even cooler, that like he was being tortured and about to be lit on fire, and he still wasn't like, oh yeah, you had there was an undercover guy here.
Yeah.
So now we are, I think this is this to the flashback?
Yeah,
Sorry, I'm looking at my notes here. I got a lot of sorts.
Mr. Orange.
So yeah, this is it's a few days before, or I guess a while before, Mr. Orange is meeting at a diner with someone to basically talk about this job that they're going to pull off. He's basically like, he's kind of being like coached into, like, he they're talking about how he will be going undercover in this crew, and his mentor is basically telling him, like, you need to think of a really funny or a really like good anecdote. Like, basically he's telling him, like, this needs to be a good story to let people know, like, oh, this guy's legit. Like, he's actually has some stories about, you know, some legitimate things, or quote unquote legitimate things that he's done. But he's also like stresses the details is what you need to worry about. He's like, these guys, the details is what's going to make or break this thing. Like, you need to study, you need to know how to act, you need to know, memorize these lines. He's like, the anecdote that he's talking about, he's going into a bathroom and he has like drugs on him, and he's like, did that bathroom fucking smell bad? Was there a sink running? Was there another guy in there with? He's like, this is the type of shit you need to lock in and basically never forget.
Yeah, the commode story.
The commode,
which I just thought was really, I thought it was pretty cool, like that he, you know, Orange takes all this time to really prepare for it. And then it actually the end of this little scene is he's with the rest of the guys and they're telling him this scene, and then Mr. White's like, oh shit, like that's crazy. And you're like, oh, he fucking...
And they cut to all the times he's practicing.
Yeah. He's like in his apartment, he's up, but it's pretty
and he's
cool.
like, I love in the story when he's telling him that he's like, yeah, these guys are calling me all the time for weed. And he's like, fuck off, I'm trying to watch The Lost Boys.
The Lost Boys drop.
That's pretty great.
But then it also just goes into this, like him telling it, like the actual account, like him being in the bathroom.
Yeah. So it's the
like a reenactment.
Like he's in the scene basically that he's telling, and he's like talking. He's describing it, but he's standing there. So it's kind of like they blend.
It's really
the
cool
lines.
how they do
and
that.
The cop tells like a hilarious story about how he like almost blew a guy away.
Yeah. While he's like in there at the.
The dog is barking at him.
But it's great because
so
he's
stressful.
Like Nick said,
Sable
like,
played that dog actually.
Oh, huge German Shepherd.
Like Nick said, he's just killing the story when he's like with all the guys.
Yeah, they have him like they're down.
They ask him some like level of detail that I wouldn't even know. I forget what someone's job was or something. I forget what it is. I just watched this. I don't remember what it is.
Because he says he said, no, I think it's Keitel, and he goes, yeah, he was in jail for. I had to help.
Oh, that's
out.
what it was. That's what it was.
And he goes, "What was he in jail for?" He's like, "I don't know, some parking ticket thing." You know, like so. He did ask him a little side question.
But I think that's like a testament to this guy that gave him the information. Yeah. Like he was not wrong. Like these guys are going to be like, well, that doesn't make sense. Why? Like they're going to be able to see right through.
Yeah, because he said, "Oh, so you got a bunch of weed and then got on the train? Like, why?"
Yeah, and he's like, "Why did you do that?"
He's like, "Oh, he needed it right away."
And he's like, "I had to give some." Yeah, he's like, "So you bought all that weed and then you had to give a guy a ride to the train?" He's like, "Yeah, he needed a ride. It was no big deal." And they're like, "Oh, okay, well that checks out." Like, so it is really cool how much that they are like locked in, and the fact that he was able to convince them, I think, is really.
And cool. Even Joe is like convinced because he's like. He's like, you know how to handle that situation. Yeah. Shit your pants and dive in and swim.
Yeah. That's so good. So then it flashes forward a little bit more, and the crew seems to be kind of getting along. This is still before the heist. They seem to be getting along. They're joking around with each other, leading up to the job. At this point, they're informed by Joe that they're going to use aliases. They're kind of in like this little almost like chalkboard session. It actually you brought up Baby Driver at the beginning. Dude, it's almost reminded me of that scene where they're all just like bullshitting, and at the end of these, like, guys, I know we're all fucking around, but like we're using aliases from here on out, and like, you know, it needs to be serious.
And he does a similar thing in that movie where he says, I never use the same guys on the same jobs. Yeah. And it's kind of like this where he's like, he's talking about other players, but they're not on the same team.
But they're not there.
You know what I mean? So I meant to say that when I said I watched it, because it's like...
As soon as you said that, I was like, oh, that scene reminds me exactly
I think that had to be...
It had to be a shout out at the very least.
Yeah.
But there's some really great lines here where they're basically like, you're going to be Mr. Brown. And he was like, why don't you just call me like Mr. Asshole or something?
He's like, that sounds like Mr. Shit.
Mr. Shit or something funny. And then Steve Buscemi he's like, you're going to be Mr. Pink. And he's like, I don't want to be Mr. Pink. And he's like, I don't give a fuck what you want to be. Like, he's like, well, how about Mr. Purple? And he's like, you don't get to pick your own color. Purple's on another job. You're on this job. And he's like, you can tell that Joe is like, these fucking toddlers that I'm dealing with right now. I just thought that's
then he's like, Mr. He's like, Mr. White, why don't we switch? He's like, if you don't care.
Yeah, and he's like, no one's switching.
He's like, that's easy for you to say. You have a cool sounding name, Mr. White.
Which this is something, you know, again, at the beginning with the whole tip conversation and stuff like that. I think Tarantino's writing is really good, and Keith and I we mentioned this at the beginning a little bit. He's really good at introducing these kind of like humanizing scenes where it's like, the example that you used when we were talking about this kind of outside the show was like, if you're doing a heist, it's not just going to be like, yeah, and then we're going to break into this. No, there's going to be like
you're
downtimes where you're bullshitting with people.
Yeah.
And it makes these stories not more relatable in a way, but you almost can see yourself.
It is though.
Like being like, oh yeah, like I'd be like, that is funny that why didn't he get to pick his name or something like that.
The dialogue is like it's so real. It's like
it is.
It's not
real
like,
is the right.
It's
word
not
for
like
it,
like you. I've never been a wise guy. I've never been a criminal that's gonna go rob a bank or never. I've never been a guy that carries a gun and is like gonna blow someone away.
Yeah, take that, agents listening.
But I'm just saying, like it feels like it doesn't feel like you're not watching just some like. Oh, here we are again.
Yeah.
Like, I hate to say it. Like, I love Michael Bay. Michael Bay back at it with another
Bay.
heist. It's like it's not like that where it's like over the top and it's like It's like it's not like one brother is standing there looking at the brother and says like, he's like, "Mom, be proud."
Yeah, and you're like,
me and you were going to the grave. It's like nobody would fucking say that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like it's real shit. And like there was like an interview where someone was talking about it, and he's like, "Yeah, Samuel L. actually talks about a lot about how when he's reading like scripts by Tarantino, it's like." It's like words that are coming out of his head. It's like he can picture, like it's like words that he would have said, or like stuff that is like actually fluent, like not like, oh, well, this is like targeted dialogue that's gonna set up the plot. It's like this is people having a discussion.
The plot seems to go where it naturally would have gone if the situation was real.
Basically. And he's known for that extended long scenes where it's like there might have been a clip in another movie. There might have been a clip of them talking about this, like the tipping thing, like, oh, you don't tip, man, lie down, and then like now, but this, like it's like an extended. And also, he was originally supposed to play Mr. Pink, and then Buscemi killed his audition, and he's like, no, that's Mr. Pink. I'm gonna do Mr. Shit.
He said he's like the only way you're gonna get Mr. Pink for me is if you give a good audition, and he's like, God damn it.
And he's a maniac.
Yeah.
But it's crazy, like after that heist name thing, like it's just full throttle.
Well, there was another scene that I was going to talk about right after this one. At this point, they're walking over the plan. It's a really quick scene. It's between White and Orange. They're in the car, basically quizzing each other. White's like, all right. Like, he's an older guy. It's kind of clear that he'd been around the block, so to speak, a couple times with these, like, jobs. And he's like, so, what happened? Like, Orange is like, well, what happens if the manager, like, tries to be a hero? And he's like, in this situation, you're going to want to do... He's basically running through, like, oh, Criminal 101 is going to tell you to do. And so you can kind of tell that separately... These two are building a bond. You can see it in the beginning where he's kind of comforting him when he's like, all right, who's my tough guy who got shot? It's okay, buddy. To now they're starting to bond and ultimately leading up to... And
he's like quizzing them, asking them like where each guy's supposed to be.
So you can tell that he's like, he really wants... It's kind of... I don't want to use the word nice, but it's almost like he seems like he's like, I really like, you're a good kid. Like, I want you to succeed doing this job. I want to make sure this works out.
Yeah, they're going through it, make sure.
Brown's gonna be gonna wait with the car. I forget how it all works out. Brown's gonna wait for the car. Blue and pink.
Crowd control.
Yeah, pink and white are
no, pink and white take the guy back in to get
blonde
the diamonds.
Was crowd control.
Blue and blue were crowd control.
Yeah.
And then he's like, he's quizzing him all the things, and he goes, "That girl's ass." And he's like, "Right here on my dick."
And it's weird for Tim Roth to say that because he's like such like an unassuming guy. You're like, he wouldn't say that. It's like me saying it. It's like, he wouldn't say that.
He wouldn't say that. That's
then they go over this whole heist, and he's like, "Come on, I'm hungry. Let's get a taco."
Yeah, I do love that. He's like, "Let's go get a taco." And pull off. And then it flashes forward. This is right after the heist now. Again, this is they jump around quite a bit in this. Right after the heist, they're all running to get to their cars. They kind of escaped from the original, I guess the jewelry store. I don't even know where. I guess it's a jeweler that they're robbing.
And I have a crazy tie-in for when we're done talking about the whole plot. I have a crazy tie-in for
with this scene, or
for the jewelry store and like the rest of the movie. It's like a really cool thing.
It's brown, orange, and white. Or drive, and Brown's driving, but you can tell he's all fucked up.
Yeah. They get there, and they're basically like, they're trying to gather like what happened. Two cops come around, and White just fucking unloads.
Dude, that scene is so guns. Cool looking.
Yeah, it is. He's got the sunglasses on and the two guns in
and
front of him.
And the cop's like,
yeah.
So that is one scene that's like a complete scene reshot from another movie. It's just crazy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
It's called City on Fire. I was gonna kind of wait till we're done talking about all of it, but that scene.
If you want to wait, we can.
That scene is one of them where it's literally the same exact. Like the car comes around the corner and
Yeah.
Yeah,
But you can
it's
tell.
really fucking crazy.
I don't know. Well, I mean, at this, and you can also tell that Orange is like, whoa, this is a little more serious than I wanted
Well,
it to be.
he's looking because he sees the cops die, and
Yeah,
he's
and
like,
he's
just
a
like,
cop. Like,
"Ah, shit.
Well,
yeah. And then they're basically trying to get away. At this point they're trying to run. White and Orange there's a woman in a car, and they're like, all right, we need a car, let's get it. They go up to it, they open up the door, and Orange basically goes up to grab this woman out of the car. She pulls out a gun, shoots him, and then he basically kills her. Yeah. And he throws him in the back seat. White's in the driver's seat, and then this is the very first scene back again where he's in the back seat, basically. And you're like, oh shit.
He's like, I can't believe she fucking killed me.
Yeah, he's like, she killed me. But it's all comes together that like she was a young woman. She had basically.
That was the bravest thing I think she could have done, is just take the gun and just.
Yeah, I mean, I would have just been like, fucking take the car.
I would have frozen in fear. I would have pissed in my pants.
Well, I think this is the. What's up?
I said I would have. I would have pissed right in my pants.
Just like,
and we're like, dude, come on! I'm going to steal your
that.
car and you just pissed in it? God damn it!
Like, I'm really sorry.
You got any
guys.
fucking
Here's my
bounty
wallet.
towels?
Yeah.
You got any bounty towels? A sweatshirt to put down?
I don't got a friggin' ShamWow or
The cops are
something
coming!
back here?
Hurry, dude! Give me your shirt! You fucking pants pisser! All right, sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. So they are, and now this is kind of the movie syncs up with itself. I think this is the last time it actually flashes out of order. I believe from here on out, the movie just kind of plays from present day on, which is kind of cool. They kind of tie it back, do a full circle, and they're like, all right, now you know everything up until the first scene of the movie.
Because they get back to the warehouse, and it's just wild.
And it's chaos. They are back to they flash back to the warehouse. Eddie, Pink, and White return. And Orange basically tries to convince them that Blonde planned to kill him. He was like, oh, while you were gone, like, he was saying that he was going to kill all of us. Like, I had to kill him, basically. Like, he's just
he was a pull and a burn, man.
He's like,
yeah.
And he's like, he was going to, he was going to burn the cop. And he's like, what, this cop? Pop, 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 pop.
Yeah.
But then he just like telling him he was going to run with the money. And then, like, Nice guy Eddie has a great line. He's like, so you're telling me this guy who did 15 years for us could have said our name just out of the fucking blue?
Like, decides to rip us off.
Like, it's crazy. Like, his eyes in that scene. Like, he's just
he has a point, and he's like,
he knows that something's rotten in Denmark.
Yeah, tell him.
And then
that's from True Romance. But whatever.
Oh yeah. Who gives a fuck? Great. So yeah, Orange. He basically accuses Orange of lying, since Blonde was loyal. Joe arrives with the news that the police killed Blue, so that's just another person that's done. And he's about to execute Orange, who suspects, is the traitor. Who they're like, you're definitely, like, come on, you're the only guy we were kind of on the fence about. Like, I was so sure of everyone else except you. So he's like, obviously, you're going to be the guy that. He's like,
this lump of shit's working for the LAPD.
This lump of shit. That's wild.
Yeah, Lawrence Tierney as Joe. His delivery is like.
Yeah. It's very good. But at this point, in a shocking turn of events, White, maybe it's not that shocking, White pulls a gun on Joe and is like, I know this kid. Like, I saw him take a fucking bullet. Like, he's not a cop. Like, I've never been more sure about it. And I think this just goes on. I think this is more a testament to Orange's work as an undercover cop, of like being able to establish a friendship and being able to kind of like, fool people. I mean, that's the name of the game as an undercover cop in this situation.
And that's when he says, what does he say to him? He goes, he was the only one I wasn't sure of. And then that's when he says, that's your proof? And Joe has a great line. He goes, you don't need proof when you have instinct.
Yeah, that's
a great line.
You don't need proof when you have instinct.
Well, that
fucking voice, dude.
Yeah, he sounds like Burgess Meredith from Rocky.
Dude, that's what it is, dude.
It's
there's
like
something in my mind when he's talking, and especially when he gets all amped up. I'm like, dude, there's something. I close my eyes, I hear it. What is it?
He's like one line away being like, "Get up, you son of a bitch."
That's what it is.
But he. So they end up in the classic standoff at the end of this movie. We have White aiming at Joe, who's aiming at Orange, and then we have separately Nice Guy aiming at White. Yeah. So we have everyone's aiming at everybody, and then just all three of them just decide to fire.
Yeah.
They kill all of them are down, and White and Orange are hit, and they're basically, both of them are kind of on the ground. White crawls his way over to Orange, and he's like, "I'm sorry, kid. Like, this isn't how this was supposed to go." And at this point, Orange reveals, like, "Hey, man, I got a funny.
Like,
I have a funny story for you.
I'm a cop. He's like, say that again.
And he's like, no, fuck.
It's like in White Men Can't Jump when he says,
and Pink
I lost the money, and she's like, say that again.
Say that again.
Did you say Pink?
Throws the pizza.
Pink takes the diamond.
Yeah, and Pink is just like, I'm out.
He's like, he was hiding, and then he gets up.
Yeah, from under the ramp. He's like hiding
under the
ramp.
He takes the diamonds.
It's like the fucking Pink Panther.
He like sneaks away like a...
He's gone. So this is interesting because Joe actually shoots Orange first. He gets shot. But what happens is it's supposed to be... And I slowed it down because I'm like, all right, I got to figure it out. After all these years, I got to figure this the fuck out. So Joe shoots Orange, White shoots Joe. It's supposed to be White shoots Joe and then shoots Nice Guy. Yeah. But Nice Guy's pack, he has like a blood pack. It goes off too early. As Joe's getting shot, his pops too. So he does turn, but he...
So nice guy had to roll with
Nice Guy Eddie's already fallen. This is the part where Tarantino left it in. He could have fixed it.
That's cool.
He's like, he said, it will start... conversations for years. It's such a cooler conversation than Han versus Greedo. I never want to fucking hear that conversation again.
And
who shot first, Han or Greedo? Star Wars.
Yeah.
This conversation is how the fuck did this work out? Because everyone's like, because I think that was when I was a kid. It was always everyone always thought it was Pink that shot. Or no, Orange.
Yeah, Orange.
But Orange doesn't have a gun in his hand, so it's like it doesn't make any fucking sense because you see him get blown back. Yeah. But like I slowed it down, I watched it like 20 times on replay, and I was watching the fucking like slow motion.
It's almost like it hits, and then he's like.
But so if you think about it, he hits Joe and Nice Guy. He's like boom boom like that.
Yeah.
But that is crazy, that scene, and it is crazy when he crawls over to.
Yeah.
And he's like, Larry. He's like, I'm a cop. And he's like,
dude, his
I think he's just pissed at this point.
He's like
his final action.
He's almost
like
crying.
You hear Pink in the background get arrested.
Yeah.
If you listen to that,
is that him actually getting arrested, or does he actually get away? Because I think
he
it's
gets
ambiguous.
arrested because they're like drop the bag. Like
they say drop the bag. Because I listened to it again because I remember you saying that. I listened to it.
So
I didn't hear that.
He gets arrested. And then they all bust in. They're like, "We're gonna blow you away."
Yeah,
and
they're like,
buddy.
Well, because White at this point is basically like so mad. He pulls his gun and
he has like right on his cheek like this.
Yeah, like he's just like so mad in the moment.
Larry. I'm sorry,
Larry.
Yeah.
Oh,
so you hear gunshots and then that's the end.
You just hear one gunshot, and then it's like, and you see him get blown away.
And then it's just right back into the end credits.
It's a great
right back to K-Billy.
Great song. It's Lime in the Coconut.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's like do 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 do. It's just like such a like calm song after like you just saw one of the fucking most crazy movies.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I was gonna say is this whole movie is pretty much a retelling, or it's like a reimagining of Ringo Lam's 1987 City on Fire, starring Chow Yun-fat, also huge action actor from one of my favorite guys, John Woo, including Hard Boiled, but he's a huge Hong Kong actor, like huge Hong Kong. He came over to American films too, but like 80s to 90s, one of the biggest, He's like Tom Cruise in Hong Kong, but. Dude, so the City on Fire is the same idea. It's almost like Infernal Affairs to Departed. Okay. Scorsese basically just takes a movie, becomes friends with the director, Americanizes, but like not Americanizing like McDonald'sifies it, like rewrites an insane movie. Departed is an insane movie, but it's literally the same plot as Infernal Affairs, another movie. So this one, the same plot. There's an undercover cop that basically has to go stop, like infiltrate into a ring of criminals. That happens the same way.
Yeah.
And Chow Yun-fat is that cop. And then at the end of the movie, like they're going to do that heist. So I watched this. There's a YouTube video that splices both movies together. It's Harvey Keitel talking, but there's scenes like all those scenes that are missing from Reservoir Dogs. Like the heist scene completely is missing, right?
Yeah.
So you have like before and after.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
The heist scene. Cool. So what he does when he's going and then he started going off and he's like bam 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 bam. They intersplice it so the scene, like I don't know if he did this on purpose, but the scene that they're depicting is pretty much just as long as the scene in the original movie where the people are getting shot up in the
so he's like
so it's like bam bam
like,
and you just see people just like it cuts over, just we see people getting shot.
So it's like him doing the bam, and then it's like, oh, someone's dying.
And then they get in so they run, they get in a car, and they're running instead of just crashing into a car like Mr. Brown does, and then he like goes blind from blood.
Yeah.
This other car just goes. It's freaking 87 Hong Kong. This car goes flying up off of another car.
Yeah.
It's like insane, but it's the same deal. Cool. And then in the other movie, it's a truck that comes around, like a huge armored truck.
Okay.
Yeah.
And instead of Harvey Keitel sitting there, like blasting the cops as they come around, it's like they're just getting blown away.
Yeah.
But it's like the same exact. That is like
that's
the same
pretty
exact.
cool.
Scene.
That's pretty cool.
And then instead of a girl shooting, so he gets shot the same way in the gut. But instead of them like getting in a car, it's this guy. I can't remember if it's another cop, but it's a guy that hits him in the gut, and then they just blow him away. And then they end up running, getting to a warehouse at the end.
Yeah.
And the warehouse is different looking, but it's the same setup. And then the Mexican standoff, like every gun, like facing at each other. It's the same exact. He calls the rat.
So he basically stole the movie.
No, he like.
No, I'm just kidding,
But it's like really cool how fucking on point this.
Yeah.
And it's so on point that they're able to make a YouTube video. Some guy made a YouTube video of it spliced together, and then
that's pretty cool.
It goes to the ending of the original movie. Yeah. But it's pretty cool. And then it's the same thing, pretty much the same way.
Yeah.
Everyone ends up the same way. The cops, the other one's more brutal. They have like fucking ARs. They're all at the windows, like about to shoot them, and then you hear the pop. So he shoots the dude.
Well, I think it's. Nice. I mean, it is easy. Like
it's fucking.
I was joking around when I said like, oh, so he stole the movie. Like, I think people. It's easy to assume like, oh, that's really cool, but like, did he just remake that? But it's like, no, the skill that it takes to take a movie like that, reuse it shot for shot, and still make it your own thing, like Tarantino did, is not easy to do. And I think like that's, but he does it in a way where it's not like. He's like, I would never steal this. I loved this and respect this movie so much that I want to pay tribute to it in his own creation, which I think is really cool.
He took a movie that, yes, everyone in Hong Kong probably saw. It was probably huge in Hong Kong. Some nerds in America probably saw it. Some nerds in America will see it now. But he just basically made it so it's like into one of the greatest movies of all time. Yeah. And then pays homage to it. It's not like he just took it and was like, oh no, that wasn't me.
He didn't steal it.
He just like straight up's like, cool. I mean, this is like, my inspiration. So then there's all right, one more. There's another movie called I think it's pronounced Conte. It came out in 2002. It unapologetically steals this plot. It's a Bollywood movie. Okay. And
you were telling me.
It unapologetically steals this plot, and it's like a Bollywood version of Reservoir Dogs.
So it's spelled Kaante.
I think it's pronounced Conte. I'm not sure if anybody actually knows. That'd be cool to know. But I tried to track it down. So Quentin Tarantino has seen this and liked it so much that he actually shows it back to back with Reservoir Dogs. He actually was showing City on Fire, Reservoir Dogs, Conte as like a movie night at his theaters.
Yeah, that is
so like it's that cool that I tried to watch it. So I tried to find it. I guess I have to buy a physical copy of it because I found it online. You can't buy it anywhere like Amazon. You can't buy it. It's out of region or whatever. Yeah. But I found a bunch of sites that have it and they have subtitles, but the subtitles are only in Hindi. So like there's a couple English words in there that I could hear like inspector, and I had no idea what's going on. I'm like, do I watch this whole movie with no context? But I was like, nah, I got to find it subtitled. So I really want to see it because if he's willing to like see it and be like, not only be like, oh, that was kind of cool, nice job, but like, I'm gonna show it. It's that cool.
Yeah,
he said this is one of his favorite. I'm just reading a little summary right now. Apparently, this was his favorite. Basically body of work that was inspired by one of his movies. Out of like all the homages and shout outs of any movie, this is like one of his top favorite ones. He said it was just incredible, which I think is like, if you're a filmmaker, like directly, I mean, they weren't like, we created this brand new plot. Like if you're directly like doing a callback to something that someone else did and then be like, you guys fucking rocked it. Like I imagine that's gotta be awesome as like a director and writer and stuff like that. So
I'm sure it's a far cry from, I actually just saw this earlier today. There's a movie called Reservoir Cats, and it's a fully female cast version of this movie.
That's pretty
I've never heard of it until today, but I was like, oh my god, do I have to watch that? I might have to. Like, there's no way. It's not.
What year?
It's not
was that like a newer one?
It was like 2011 or something. I don't know. It's not like Conte where it's like a fully like original rewrite of a movie. I think it's literally just like scene for scene, but like with. It's like an Australian dude that he did a movie called, I saw he did another movie called European Pie, and it's a spinoff of American Pie. I was like,
that's pretty good.
Bro, I think I'm good. I don't think I need to watch that movie because it's probably just like Meet the Spartans or something like that, where it's like, oh, dude, we're so quirky. I'm like,
Spartans.
I was like, dude, I don't know about that.
Yeah, that 2011 is when that one came out.
Yeah, so we can just
Reservoir
skip that. You can
Cats.
just cut that out of the episode
Yeah.
so that nobody thinks that we are even co-signing that one.
Yeah, because Keith hates women. Or
Oh,
whatever.
I just realized that's what it sounds like. No,
I'm just kidding.
I think if they actually like recasted it as women and it was like a serious movie, it would be cool. But if it's like literally a spoof, like
it seems like
Pie,
that dude's shtick is like
it's like if you look at his thing, it's all.
Yeah, I'm glancing over some of his other movies. Yeah, it kind of seems.
That's
like
what I
his
said.
thing
I
is-
was like, I thought it was a really cool idea until I read the rest of his filmography, and I was like, oh, so this is probably just a spoof, and I'm going to waste 9 minutes of my time and probably want my Blockbuster card back.
Yeah, but yeah, did you guys have anything else before we stop?
There was one more connection to Pulp Fiction. So his name is actually Larry Dimmick in this movie.
Okay,
You only know it because you don't know it from the regular movie, I don't think, but there's a cut scene that they cut out of it where he's actually, and he's in the movie where he's talking to the other cop.
Yeah.
And they're doing the research, and he's like, all right, so you know his name, you know where he's from, you know what kind of work he's done. I need you to go figure out who he is. So there's another scene that they cut where he's flipping through his book of people, and he sees him. And he calls him, he talks to him, reports the name, and then this other lady prints out the whole rap sheet. You see, like, if it's like a whole like list of like grand arson, all this stuff, all arson, like Grand Theft Auto, all this stuff, and then they have like this sit down where they're talking about like what they're gonna do with him and stuff.
Yeah,
and there's a couple extra scenes that they cut out of it that like. They probably don't need to be in the movie, which is fine. But it's cool that they exist because then it's like almost like a side comic book.
Yeah, that's
like,
cool.
Like, oh shit, he actually knew his
cool.
name. So then at that point, you know that he knows everything about this dude even before he gets shot, and he tells him his name and all this. Like he knows everything about this guy from the rip.
Yeah.
But that guy's name is also he's supposed to be like tangentially Quentin Tarantino's character's brother from Pulp Fiction because they have the same last name.
Yeah, Vega. Yeah.
No, Dimmick. So not the Vega brothers.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Dimmick
I'm sorry. Yeah.
And then there's another scene. So that whole car scene where they're like, all right, we got to go get rid of these cars. They actually filmed that scene where they're in the car where nice guy Eddie's driving them.
Yeah.
And he keeps telling me, he's like, we got to get a fucking doctor. Like that whole thing. Like it's extended in the car. And he's like, all right, I'm going to call Bonnie. And Bonnie is also
from Pulp Fiction.
His wife. They're like, where they take the car. Yeah, and there's like all these like interlocking.
That is really cool.
And then there's like a whole theory that Pulp Fiction is actually the prequel to this, or they happened before. And then there's another theory that they happened at exactly the same time.
And it's just like different. Like,
and then there's a theory that Tim Roth's character could have been actually like in Pumpkin and One could actually be the same guy. I don't know. I'm just like, holy fuck, I don't know.
How long was the extra cut? Like how long was the full version that you saw?
Oh, well,
like,
I didn't see a version with it in. They have like
they just
scenes.
have like they'll just have a deleted.
So there's like
scene.
3 or 4 deleted scenes, and then there was 2 alternate cuts of the ear scene where they showed it. They showed it from like this other side, and then they showed it like close up where you can see the prosthetic. Which was really funny. But he cuts it, and then they just they let it bleed. And they said he said that he had a guy behind him.
Oh, with like a tube or something.
There's a guy behind him that was just pumping it,
yeah.
and he was just like blood was just like spewing out of him. But they showed that cut. That guy watched that. That's like 30 seconds of watching it just drip down his face.
Yeah, that's
crazy.
That is pretty brutal.
I have a couple phone facts if you want.
Yeah, blow through them.
So apparently Tarantino offered James Woods a role in this movie.
Okay.
And they think that it's speculated that it was either Mr. Pink or Mr. Orange. They don't know which one. Yeah. But apparently he offered him, but the sum of money was well below what Woods was making then. And his agent never told him about it.
Oh, that
my
sucks.
God.
And then he found out about the offer. I guess he was talking to somebody. And he got so pissed off he fired his agent right on the spot.
Holy shit! I mean, I don't think I would rather him be over Tim Roth, but he could have done it.
Yeah,
and then,
he's talented.
Apparently, Tony Scott read the scripts for True Romance and Reservoir Dogs, and told Tarantino he actually wanted to direct Reservoir Dogs. But Tarantino said, no, you can have True Romance. I'm doing Reservoir Dogs.
Oh, that's cool.
Isn't it crazy that he has both these scripts at the same exact time? 2 of the best movies. I would say 2 of the best movies ever made.
I was going to say, I know True Romance is
that's like my
that's
favorite
one of your
movie.
favorite movies.
And he's just like, well, I got to pick one or the other to actually direct. And he picks Reservoir Dogs. It becomes like one of the craziest movies of all time. But then his second choice is also one of the craziest movies of all time. He's like, Tony, go ahead, do something with this. And then you see that movie, and it's like, what's crazy about that movie is it was the original script is supposed to be non-linear like this. Tony Scott makes it linear completely. Yeah. But he said it was true enough to the script minus the ending that it was like it's still. That's why if you watch that movie, it feels like you're watching a Tarantino movie, regardless, because it's just it is a Tarantino. Like he's so
it's a
good
Tarantino
at writing
plot,
a script
but just reordered.
that somebody else reading that script and directing it, it still feels like a Tarantino movie. It's like
that is pretty cool. I mean, it just has his like signature on it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But what else you got, Jay?
I had a couple like maybes that could have played the parts. So basically, Michael Madsen originally auditioned for Mr. Pink. George Clooney read for the role of Mr. Blonde, but was turned down. Christopher Walken refused Mr. Blonde, didn't take it. Vincent Gallo turned down the role of Mr. Pink. Samuel L. Jackson auditioned for the role of Mr. Orange. And then Tim Roth was cast. He wanted him to play Mr. Blonde. But yeah, Robert Forster and Timothy Carey auditioned for the role of Joe Cabot. But Forster eventually played Max Cherry in Jackie Brown.
Yeah.
Apparently David Duchovny auditioned for a part, and Quentin Tarantino told him, "I like what you do. I just don't know if I want you to do it in my movie."
Damn.
So the one that stands out to me is the George Clooney one. That one, like Michael Madsen is Mr. Bond, but if he didn't exist, him and oh my God, I just said it earlier.
What?
What's the other movie they're in together?
Which one? Who? Sorry,
George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino.
From Dusk Till Dawn.
From Dusk Till Dawn, dude. So him and From Dusk Till Dawn, like he plays a psychotic dude, and he could be the next Mr. Bond out of all those people. That would have been cool. One
other thing, Matt Dillon was considered for the role of Mr. Blonde. Nicolas Cage was considered for the role of Nice Guy Eddie.
That would have been awesome.
Which would have been crazy.
I would have liked to see him as Mr. Orange. I'm a cop.
Yeah. Ving Rhames was considered for the role of Holdaway.
That would have been kind of crazy.
Buscemi was actually offered the role of Orange and Nice Guy Eddie. Until he got Pink. But yeah, and then Tom Sizemore was a finalist for Mr. Pink.
That would have been cool to see Sizemore in that movie.
But the one thing... two other things. Mr. Pink, Mr. Brown, and Mr. Blue are the only members of the heist team whose true names are never revealed.
Yeah.
And then the one thing that I saw was... so the beginning scene in the diner, when they're tipping, Joe comes back to the table and said, "Who didn't tip?" And Mr. Orange says, "Mr. Pink." And he's like, "Why didn't he tip?" He's like, "He don't believe in it." And he's like, basically telling him why he's not tipping, ratting him out on not tipping.
Yeah.
And that's supposed to be foreshadowing of Tim Roth being the rat, which I never knew until now.
Yeah, that is pretty
And that
cool.
really makes it kind of even better, because you're like, he's foreshadowing that he's telling all the secrets on them.
Well, I think
he's the rat.
Like, if you take a step back, like as a police officer, they have, you'd like to think they have a moral high ground. All these other criminals, they're gonna be like, "I don't give a fuck if you don't tip." But he's the only one that's like, "No, this isn't right." Like his kind of moral compass is going off. So
you think that's him like slipping his undercover at that point, like inadvertently, like
well,
basically telling Joe that he's, if anyone's gonna be off, and then later on when he's like, "Oh, we have a rat," he's like, "Oh, I fucking knew it. It was him."
I think it's just supposed to
be fucking ratting him on for tipping. Yeah, he's probably ratting him on for
it. Might be, but I think it's just supposed to, like, Tarantino wrote that in as like foreshadowing. So like when you're watching it, you're like, and you think back, you're like, "Oh shit, he did like right away say Mr. Pink," like he told on him.
Oh
right away.
Like with no prying, he was like, "Who did it? Who didn't tip?" And he's like, "He did."
Yeah, so I think he's just like, there was just a little cool thing he wrote in there, like to foreshadow that for later. But I thought that was pretty cool.
The only scene that we didn't talk about, it doesn't matter, but it's the Mr. Pink flashback where he's fucking running.
Running down the street.
Yeah.
He's like, "Get the fuck out of my way!"
Because where he kills the two cops and he fires no less than 45 bullets out of his gun that can hold maybe 10.
He gets hit by the car. He's like, "Oh."
Yeah.
And then he has to get in the car and drive it. Yeah. Windshield's all smashed up. Yeah, that's like a minor scene, but dude. All right, so I will say about that scene, I'm pretty sure that's where they get when he's running down the street. That's where they get. They took that for Grand Theft Auto. All the noises That people when he's bumping into people, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, buddy, what's up? Why are you in my way? Like that. I feel like they probably
It's
just
just
like
all-
soundstage that for Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
I was just
I
thinking
can
about
see
that
it.
when
Yeah,
he's
I mean,
running.
you can see it. It
Because
all
when
seems
when
very,
you
like-
bust people up in Grand Theft Auto, you
Yeah,
run
they're
through
like,
people.
"Whoa."
They're like, oh.
That's true. But this is such a good movie. Though.
I know.
There's not can't say enough great things about
Yep.
this one. Did you guys have anything else, or should we do a quote to wrap this one up?
Do a quote.
Keith, you're up, man.
The only one I see. Okay, so can I say this? Like, I don't think I'm going to say quotes in the show anymore. Because
Is this a
I was
Keith
thinking
tells
about it.
all at
Well,
the last?
No, because I fucking stumbled over the most like iconic quote of the movie. I was like, "Yeah, are you gonna bark, Bob?
Well,
are you
say
gonna
it
bark all
again.
day?"
That's
or
perfect. So say it again.
yeah, I know, but I think
and
this is my
redeem
last
yourself.
quote. For
So you
like,
better-
I'm not
so
like
it
when we're
better
reading,
be good,
we're
then.
reading through plots.
Yeah.
I'm not.
You
I'm not.
better.
I just don't think I'm a quote guy. I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think I can perform.
People are gonna be like, "Man, that 40th episode was awesome."
Well,
until
hit the
Keith
quote.
lost it.
So I think I have to like
Yeah.
I think I have to resign from trying to do quotes. I
That's
just don't
fair.
think that's my style. Like I can
That's
do
all
like
right.
scenes. I don't
Well,
think
this
I'm
was-
a quote guy.
Since this was your
Keith's
movie,
last quote.
yeah.
Well,
since
no,
this
because
was
you
your
guys
movie,
you guys are
right?
quote people. Like you can remember them. You can remember them.
Yeah.
And I just feel like when you guys have delivery, I feel like when I say a quote, it sounds like the most unappealing quote of all time. Like I remember when I was doing Kurt Russell quotes for The Thing, I was like, dude, I sound like such a fucking dipshit.
No.
Like I was like, dude, I'm gonna make people not want to watch this movie because of how bad I'm doing these. Like I can write down the quote and read it, and I sound like
People are like,
such
"Oh
a
my god,
loser.
did they get?"
Yeah.
Kurt
I'm like, dude,
Russell
did
on
you
that
see
episode?
have you seen the movie? I was like, dude, I love the movie. I'm just an idiot.
So do you want to try
All right,
one
well-
more time, or do you not? Or because we
I'll
could
try
take it
I'll
over
try
too.
it. If it's bad though, you got to do it.
All right. Do you need the
Hit it.
Do you need the quote?
No,
I have it in
I
writing.
got it.
All right, ready? Everyone be quiet. All right, everyone's quiet. Who's listening?
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Are you gonna bark all day, little doggy? Or are you gonna bite?
Oh,
Perfect.
perfect, dude.
Did it sound like Madsen was in the room?
It did.
did.
I thought it was
Fucking-
Manson.
yeah, right,
I
dude.
closed my eyes.
Yeah,
I thought it was
it was
Manson.
It's like, yeah, he has a T-shirt, but he doesn't know fucking shit about it. Okay, dude. That's my biggest fear, owning a T-shirt or something, but
Oh, and
somebody
someone
quizzing
calls
me
you
on
on
it.
it?
Like,
Yeah.
oh, dude, it fucking stresses me out.
Yeah.
Even if I know the movie front to back, I'm like, dude,
You're like, I'm
hopefully
gonna get
nobody
called out
fucking ask me about this movie.
as a poser.
But like, I'm like, yo, I would never walk up to somebody and ask them about a movie.
Yeah.
Like, I would talk about.
You
a
should
movie
start
and be
doing that.
like, oh, dude, you like that movie? I love that movie. Or yo,
Like, yeah,
sick
dude,
shirt.
name all of your
But I've
favorite
never
lines.
like I would never actually walk up to somebody and say like, all right, so what year did that come out? Yo, so
Yeah.
like, what's the runtime?
Yeah.
Like, I would never ask somebody a question that would falter them
Yeah.
because I don't give a fuck. But like, I
That's
have
fair.
that fear
But
that's
you
gonna
have the.
happen to
It's
me.
like
at any
imposter
time.
syndrome. You'll be like, oh, they're gonna find
It's
out.
like, oh, dude, I like
They're
this.
gonna find
I
out.
like this
I'm
movie.
bad.
Yeah.
Like Nick got all this Bloodsport gear, and I was like, dude, I really want that Bloodsport hoodie. But I was like, dude, what if I got caught up in this conversation? And someone's
Freaking-
like, someone asked me something about the fucking inner workings of the plot, and I freak out. I'm like,
know.
dude, I don't even like this movie. No, I do like it, but I don't fucking.
Oh. And then Keith gets
you
all
want my
sweaty.
hoodie?
Yeah.
Do you want to do the quote one more time to lead us out?
Oh shit! All right. Are you gonna bark all day, little doggy? Or are you gonna bite?
Until next time.
Oh yeah, I forgot we were done.